Okay, welcome in.
Okay.
If there's none of you here,
Therapy session. Here we go.
for some people, I totally get it. If you're skipping tonight's show, I get it. I get it.
If you're
Um,
skipping it, that's fine. But honestly, I think it's a point. It's necessary to feel the feels and talk it out, which is what we're gonna do here. We're gonna talk this thing out. We're gonna get our thoughts out there. We're gonna just put it all out there how we're feeling about the Celtics losing Game 7 to the Miami Heat at home in not borderline, embarrassing fashion. A game that we all thought they should have won by 19 instead of losing by 19. So, quick math there. But it's just, it's tough, John.
evergreen comment here.
Yeah, we don't even need to
This is
talk about
this is
what
seven
that is.
seven seasons we've been saying this, guys. Get it going. This isn't the thing Jalen works on. It just is a thing that Jalen is. Just enough.
Yeah, 1-to-1 turnover to assist ratio I saw in the playoffs. And that's just one of their issues tonight.
That's his
and
career.
this series.
But anyway,
this is everyone's feeling the same way right now. We were pissed off after the first 3 games this year. We were ready to bury this team. We did bury this team. They fought all the way back, and they gave us that little glimmer of hope, and they made us believe again. They made us fall in love again, and it goes back to that whole toxic relationship that we have with this team. That if you ever been in one, you know what it's like. She says it's going to be different this time. She's sorry. She wants to make it work. Nope, it's the same old shit. And they lost this game the same way they have lost all their other games, John, didn't they? They didn't do anything different tonight to lose this game, aside from all their other losses in this series, in the playoffs, majority of the regular season. Lack of intensity and effort on the defensive end, sloppy on the offensive end, turnover-wise, and then just no creativity on offense. Nothing. Just freestyle offense. Here, you shoot it now, and okay, now I'll shoot it. They had basically no fast break points in this game that mattered. I mean, they didn't score in their first fast break point until I think midway through the second period or something ridiculous. But regardless, it was just bad on both ends. And yeah, I know we can, and this asterisk, if you want, Jason Tatum blows his ankle up in the first play of the game practically, and I'm sure he played through pain. It was pretty obvious that he was. So you want to give him a pass for it, fine, give him a pass for it. But this isn't, it's everybody else that I'm disappointed in as well on this team that couldn't step up and couldn't fill those shoes in any capacity. Jaylen Brown at the top, Mr. campaigning for all NBA all half the season. When he has a chance to really prove it, he's nowhere to be found. So I don't know what the future holds for him. I'm sure we'll get into that. We have a long off season to do those things. John, I've said enough. You say something.
no, I'm fine, Jimmy. You keep going, buddy. I got a lot to say. I think a lot of people have a lot to say. The chat has a lot to say.
I'm just going off the cuff right now. These are my thoughts and feelings after a very disappointing game from start to finish. I mean, this was a game where, again, they had every reason to come out strong. Yeah, Game 7 at home, Holiday. The fans are just begging for you to give them something to cheer about. And, you go down fairly big in that first quarter. You come out flat. The shots are just, what did they start? 0 for 13 from 3. They couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. And then the worst part was they weren't getting stops. They weren't getting out in the break on offense. They were letting the Heat get back on defense and set up. And that contributed to the missed shots. And we talked about it in the first few games of this series, John. Spoelstra knew all they had to do was defend the 3, prevent them from getting good, clean looks. And that was the only thing that they were going to do to try to win the games. And it proved true tonight in Game 7. They did not do enough outside of trying to shoot their way back into it. And in doing so, they shot their way out of it. And aside from a nice little Derek White run there in the third quarter to make things interesting, that's about as best you got from this team as far as the fight that you were looking for. Nothing out of Jaylen Brown. Again, Tatum was hurt. I thought, Derek White played well. I thought Rob Williams played okay, but again, limited minutes. So I don't know what's going on there. Nobody else stood out to me at all tonight, not in a good way. I mean, this was a game where these guys all needed to have, career games, and nobody did. So this sums up this team as an extremely frustrating season. I've never been more frustrated watching a team that was this talented and had this many wins in my life. I can't imagine it'll ever happen again, or at least I hope to God it doesn't. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm sure I'll think of some other things, but that's where my head's at right now. And don't ask me what the solution is. Don't ask me what the answer is, because I don't have it. I think there's some tough realizations that a lot of people need to make that I don't think a lot of people are ready to make at this point. I'll leave it at that.
Yep. You know how every team kind of like says like, things, cliche shit like we just got to play. And before I get into it, I do want to say I'm happy to see all of you guys in here. Miserable. It's important that we do this together.
Yeah.
We've
if
done
you guys
it,
have a couch, just lay down, lay out. Tell us how you feel.
Yeah. Tell us how you feel. We've been here all year, and doing this. So, and we thank all of you guys who've been along for the ride. We'll thank you again later. But, just brutal. Again, I said, I don't blame you if you leave. So with stuff like this, sometimes I just shut it. I put on a show and I'm done. And I'm gone. Like my brain is gone, and like my brain is gone right now, but we're going to go through the motions of this show. And, we're happy to have you guys in here because as it gets going, things will be said. Some stuff we might not be able to take back. I'm going to say a few things.
Hurtful things.
And a couple of those things I've said, I've hinted at in the past. I'm just going to say them tonight. I'm just going to say them. Sorry.
Let it fly.
I don't care who gets hurt. So watch out. Okay.
Don't hurt me.
No. I love all of you guys.
Thank you.
That cliche nonsense that people say, like, we got to play Celtics basketball. Let me give you guys let me fill you in on something.
Yeah.
What we saw tonight, sadly, is Celtics basketball. That's what it is. This is what this team is. This is what this team has been all year. We fooled ourselves into thinking otherwise at times. Maybe because we wanted to believe, or because you get tantalized where you see those moments where everything seems to be going well. But what they did tonight is exactly what they do. And when the shots don't fall, this is exactly what you get. It's a team that's a little bit too passive on defense, plays the percentages, played drop coverage all night, despite the fact that they were getting burnt on it. And relied on the three. And when the three didn't go down, it affected their defensive effort because I thought they actually had defensive effort a little bit in the first. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And Miami started getting easier shots. And guys were being left open and they weren't communicating on switches. And you could just see and on offense, what did they do? They just one pass,
Nothing.
Three.
They didn't do anything.
Everybody's standing around. They got into some actions like three. I was at the game in the first half. I just every 2 seconds I just kept hitting Bobby. I was like, did they run anything there? Did they run anything there? Over and over. And Bobby's like, dude, like I was just pounding on his arm. I'm like, what? I was like, they're not running anything. And yes,
same over and over and over.
The same thing over and over. And
it's like showing up to your weekly basketball team, John. That's it.
You know what's a big mark of like how crappy they are? How they started after the first, when things kind of went to hell there, how they started every quarter. The second quarter was bad. The third quarter was bad. The fourth quarter, everything. They just came out unprepared for battle all the time. And yes, we're not going to sugarcoat it. Jason Tatum rolled his ankle bad. Jason Tatum was operating about 50% tonight. That changes a ton. If you had a heroic Jason Tatum night, might have saved you from what we had to watch. Absolutely. It's possible. It's not guaranteed. I mean, they played horribly. But yes, a heroic Jason Tatum, get on my back, boys, I'll take you home, Cedric Maxwell special. Absolutely. He was bad. But
I don't know how he didn't dunk it in that fourth quarter there.
I know.
Hit the ball at the rim, buddy.
I just think he didn't. I think he was saving some of his jumps.
Oh,
I mean, he's right there. But anyway,
saved it.
I hear you.
They went off and scored like 9 straight after that, or 7 straight
But
right after that.
yeah, and I said this, and I still believe it. I mean, no one's gonna dunk on me for my Miami takes. I think this is a friggin' poor. This is an average team. Sorry, it is. It's a really average team.
Yeah.
They're fine. I respect the hell out of them for what they do with what they have. But give me a break. I mean, give me a break. It's really they're okay. But the Celtics are dog shit. They were dog shit.
They played above their skill level. They Spo coached him up. They played above it. Caleb Martin played like an all-star in this
Play
series.
like Jason Tatum.
Yeah, he did.
Did he play like Jaylen Brown?
He played better than Jaylen Brown.
But the most interesting thing, and what I think is going to be the major story, two major storylines of tonight. One, they're the same guys no matter what. Everywhere you go, there you are. No matter what, year after year after year, this core is the same people. They're the same guys, and they do the same things.
They are who we thought they were.
But that's a problem, okay? That's a problem, and it's been a problem. And you may have no choice but to run it back and just hope it gets better because it's hard to improve. But it's a problem, and you can't not expect it to be a problem again. It's real. There's no ducking it. Enough of this green team bullshit of like, dude, the best young guys in the duo. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Enough. Done. Enough.
Thank you, okay? Old dog, new tricks.
Thank you, old dog. Enough of that. But that's one story. Is this core? I'm not gonna say it's rotten, but something's wrong with it.
Let me comment on that story before you go into the next one.
Which one?
Let me comment on what you just said before you get into the next story.
But that it starts with that. So yes, that's a problem. I'll let you comment on it. But there's something wrong there that these guys cannot get themselves up to play in big games and are always looking around and looking for someone else to do it, or just can't just do what they do. But go ahead, and I'll give you my second one.
It's just a quick follow up. I agree with you completely. What I'm concerned about now is that this is ingrained in them now. It's not like a talent thing, or it's not like a physical thing. It's like a mental hurdle that can these guys get over it now? Can this team play it back and run it back, knowing that, they blew it last season now against the Warriors, and now they just blew it this season against the Heat. So, is like you said, something stinks. And I agree with you completely. And I think we felt this way all year, that something stunk. And I'm very interested to see if anything comes out in the offseason or after this where, okay, this is why something smelled weird. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But I'm torn because part of me wants to make a big change because I don't think these guys are built to win a championship. But the other part of me agrees with you in that it's not that simple.
Well, let me get to part. Let me get to part two.
That's it.
No, because it dovetails into it. Part two is this. Okay, let's talk about what happened to Jason Tatum as a real problem tonight. Okay, your number one guy rolls his ankle, and was less effective. You could see almost most of that first quarter he was a decoy. Nothing was great there. Okay. So you knew he was going to be limited. So what do you need to happen in that situation? Well, geez, I've got a second team all NBA guy here right there. He should be able to step in and shoulder the load. That's the best part of having these two guys. If one guy's down, the other guy can come right in and save the day. Like not only if one thing was proven in this series above all else, and again, if you've been deluding yourself or thinking otherwise about what Jaylen Brown is, and again, these friggin' ridiculous arguments we get in with Jaylen might be better than Tatum, actually. He's the alpha. When he goes on these 5-game runs and we friggin' forget ourselves. Watch the games, guys. The second even a healthy Tatum sits, the other team is like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This offense is so easy to defend with Jaylen here. And yes, he goes friggin' supernova every once in a while, hits a bunch of crazy shots. He is, again, just proved it. He cannot do it. Jaylen, you want to go be number one somewhere else? Go. Fine. Honestly. go. Otherwise, work on some shit and be comfortable being a number 2 and being a complimentary player who does some of the little things right, not just getting yours. Because he is, and this series and a lot of times in these playoffs, showcased how limited of a player he is. He is an extremely limited player that does one thing at an elite level. And Jimmy,
You said it. It's a great thing, but
I get heat about it all the time. I get a ton of heat about it. The Jalen hate. I don't know what people see. I don't know what they see. He can score the basketball, and that's the number one skill. He is below average at every other facet of basketball, and factor in the mental lapses that he has all over the place. Just dumb shit that folds into things that are actually just skills he doesn't possess. He killed them tonight. They looked to him to pick up the slack, had a couple of buckets in the first, and then he was the worst player on the court by miles. Like, they would have been better playing 4-on-5 at times. It was excruciating to watch. So you're heading into last offseason. Tatum absolutely melted down in the finals, and everyone's like, Jalen.
yeah.
And Tatum caught a lot of crap because he's the alpha and he choked. Jaylen Brown's going in an offseason where they got to pay him $300 million, Jimmy. And this is what you're looking at here? Good. Have fun with that decision. Holy cow. I mean, my goodness. So
that's a huge one. And honestly, like, I don't know if they can. I mean, would he accept anything less? I don't know. I mean, I really, these are questions that we'll obviously get answers to at some point. But to your point, John, what people see in Jaylen Brown, the same thing that people love about Jaylen Brown is what they love about this Celtics team, is that they see flashes of greatness and they see flashes of potential. And they think, this team or this player has finally turned the corner. Look at how he played tonight. Look at how he came out strong and this and that and the other thing. And then the next game, disappearing act. He's almost like a microcosm of the team. He kind of embodies what this team is. And maybe that's
sometimes you want to grab him and shake him like, right. What are you doing?
Right. Like, are you
here
are
right
your eyes
now?
Open? Yeah.
Are you
exactly.
here? Are you present?
Right.
What are you doing? I mean, I know Tatum has some sleepy performances. Marcus does some dumbass shit, but Jaylen Brown looks like he's in a trance sometimes.
And like, sometimes he looks completely locked in.
On fire, like he's the most unstoppable player on the planet. It's a strange dude, man.
I don't know how you can go from one extreme to the other like he does, but then be so even-keeled, like off the court and like emotionless, you know? He's a really confusing player. It's a confusing team. I don't know where you go from here with Jaylen Brown. I don't know. I understand losing the asset, John, and that's where you come in always and say you have to resign him. You have to resign him. I get that. But, man, is that a huge commitment for a player that has not proven that he can, carry the load, A, and B, play with, I would say, play as effective as your, other All-NBA player. And, yeah, it's great that you have two. It'd be even greater if they know how to play off each other and make each other better.
It'd be great if the second All-NBA player actually – it'd be second if the second All-NBA player actually was that. I've made my feelings known in our text messages, okay? I give about a fraction of it on this show because, look, I'm open to the possibility that perhaps there's a bias. Perhaps I'm seeing something and, I look towards it and I pick up more negative than positive. And I'm always open to maybe I'm missing something here. Okay. But my true gut feeling is more severe than a lot of what I say on the show.
Yeah.
I
can confirm that.
And that's that he's nowhere near, like everyone's like, dude, he's like the third best. No, second team All NBA. I think he's like somewhere between players, 35 and 50 in the NBA in terms of who he actually is. Not anywhere near a top 10 or top 15 player. Okay, I don't, and I honestly think in a couple of years most of the league will catch up to that sort of thinking as well. He's a scorer. He's a scorer. That's really good. Okay. there's not much else he does for you. There's not.
That's it.
And he has ways of absolutely tanking and submarining so many things that you're trying to do by just not being connected to what the rest of the team is doing. So it's really rough, and this is rough. This game was rough. This is what people will remember, and it's. I mean, I 8 turnovers, man. I mean, every single time you put it on the ground. I mean, oh my God. Yeah, I'm overreacting.
Were these guys like?
It's 7 years, guys.
Did they get sleep last night? Like what? I can't figure out how the hell
the Tatum thing threw it all out, threw it off like crazy for real. But then
that sucked. I
mean,
let's be real. That sucked.
It sucked. Sure. And then did they try the Brogdon experiment? That sucked. And he sucked.
That sucked very quickly. Yeah.
And it sucked quickly. There's nothing they could do about it. It was all bad. Thank you. Here, painful. Joe made subs. Cut it to 6. They're talented with no focus and heart. We need change. We don't have an opportunity. I can't argue with any of this.
Yeah, everything Eli just said is very true. I forget. I don't remember exactly the sub situation, but I know they cut it to a pretty close number. But yeah, that's the story on Brown and Tatum. And then unless you're a blind homer, green teamer who can't admit these things, then you've seen it now for a couple years. If you haven't seen it, you don't want to see it.
This is definitely a real name, Lancelot Yang. Thank you for the super chat. And if it is a real name, I apologize.
I think it's a real name. I don't know how you'd make that up.
If it is a real name, it's an awesome name. It's two awesome. It's 2 awesome names, honestly. But 3 coaches. We've said this a ton. This is where we keep coming back to it. And Jimmy always gives the analogy of like, the Celtics are like the players are like people's children. They can do no wrong. It's the teacher's fault. It's the coach's fault. It's the other kid on the playground's fault. No matter what. But the kid moves on, you change schools, you move neighborhoods, you get new teachers, new friends, and the same shit happens. And you blame all of those people as well. And Jimmy's made that analogy a bunch of times. We say this all the time. It's 3 freaking coaches and the same stuff. Like it's
same issues.
It's the same issues.
Even if the coaches might not be the best, like I don't think anyone's crowning Missoula anytime soon. But these players, it's just you can't just keep pointing a finger at everybody else because they're not changing. They're not doing anything to better themselves or better the players around them. Now, you can say that they have gotten better individually. I would agree with you there. I think everybody would. But it's not translating the way it should. And in games and in moments when you need them to play at their best, they're not. They're just not. They're not executing down the stretch either. They didn't even have to tonight. They didn't execute down the stretch in any game this series, to be quite frank, John. They somehow won 3 of them without executing down the stretch in any of them. They didn't need to in a couple. And they completely blew it up until the final millisecond in Game 6. They didn't execute it all down the stretch. So there are a lot of flaws and issues with this team. I mean, we'd be having this conversation 2 nights ago if Derek White didn't have, that unbelievable, put back there that I guess will go largely not talked about moving forward because it didn't really amount to much in the end, but it was still a great moment. And, we'll pull it up in a highlight here and there, but all for naught. And it's a damn shame because how do you not capitalize on that? You snatched the life from the Heat. They were tasting victory. They were literally celebrating victory.
I mean, this was such a winnable game. I know Miami hit 3s, but that's because I think Celtics started to kind of.
They were giving them 3s.
They gave them a ton. Miami scored 103 points, guys. Like, okay, I mean, that it's the. I know Bobby and I go back and forth with this. It's the offense. It's always been the offense. It's the offense that you needed to fix. And it never got fixed. I'm sorry.
No, it never got fixed.
It never got fixed. It became reliant on. So, and again, the
that's
numbers
a Joe
are
issue
interesting.
if you want to call it that. Too.
When you dig into the numbers, okay, and we did finally look at some. Just for context, we know the Celtics record when they hit X amount of 3s, when they shoot over 40% from 3, when they score X amount of points. The Celtics are compared to the rest of the league, the Celtics are far more reliant on that than everybody else is. Far more. Their numbers, they tank. They win almost all the time when they do it, and they lose a far greater percentage of time than other teams when they don't. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad that that's how reliant they are on one thing, and they don't really have an offensive identity. The offensive identity is shrug your shoulders and hope they go in. That's it. That's what they're made of. Okay. And that's all they know how to do. Keep jacking and hope that it changes. And after a shitty game 6 where you shot that poorly, Miami amazingly got up 15 more field goals than you did. You should have lost that game based on the metrics. And you didn't. I didn't think they possibly had another shooting game like this in them. And they did. Boy, did they.
Yeah,
they did.
They certainly did. And it's becoming more and more common, John. I mean, they've been having more and more games like these.
And this is a good point, too.
I'll read it out loud for the podcasters who are not watching. Tatum had a serious... Sorry, I already screwed it up. Tatum had a series...
Bring somebody else in for Jimmy.
I can't even read now.
Bring in someone from the pen.
Let me start over. Tatum had a series outplayed by Wiggins and Brown outplayed by Martin, including scoring. You think that ever happens to LeBron, Pierce, or even KD? ? No. I mean, not often, that's for sure, I guess. I don't know if Pierce is in that category, but we love Pierce, and Pierce is a gamer, and you never question Pierce's heart out there. Mostly. There was a couple games maybe that you did. Dog days, but when it mattered, those guys brought it. Tatum tonight showed up in the KG jackets, felt like he had the right attitude. And again, it's a damn shame that what happened to him, because you wonder if the outlook would have been different. But what really hurts is that, and you already mentioned it, John, is that there just wasn't Jaylen Brown at the top. There wasn't anybody willing or able to step in. And it wasn't like Tatum sat, maybe he should have, but they don't have, or they didn't have the depth. We thought that they were a deep team. They're not a deep team. They were 7 starters deep, and one of them got hurt in Brogdon, and then Tatum got hurt. And at that point, you had nobody else. And you can blame Joe. You can blame Brad. You can blame the players for not being giving those guys more confidence. But Joe didn't develop or use anybody else this entire playoff series other than Grant, where he finally played Grant. Grant had a horrible game tonight too.
It's coaching.
Totally. He did not use, and he didn't go to anybody. He didn't try Hauser.
He didn't try a thing.
He didn't try anything.
The worst thing that you can do is nothing. And that's what he did over and over again.
Absolutely nothing.
Mainly nothing. And
not mainly. John, he did nothing.
I mean, he did switch from double big after the first game.
Anybody in the world would have done that. Anybody in the world would have done that.
Yeah. Let's hear from Joe right now. Let's hear some Joe talking about some stuff on a question from some guy named Bobby Manning.
Joe, how did the game plan have to adjust to navigate perhaps any limitations Jason had?
Nothing. I mean, I thought he just tried to play through it as best as he could.
And how do you, obviously just with it ending right now, look back on this season? How do you assess the season this team had?
It's one of the best locker rooms I've been a part of. The guys cared. They gave it everything
Only
they had.
locker
It's the most
room.
important thing to take from this. Obviously, we didn't achieve our goal. We didn't win, which was our goal. So we failed in that regard. But it's not because the guys didn't have a sense of togetherness, character, and just who they are as people.
Hi, Sherrod.
I
would like to say that this is one of the best Celtics post-game groups I've ever been a part of.
I think this is the best post-game group we've had on May 29th, 2023 ever.
I agree with you.
It's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best.
We have a lot of heart, character.
Right. Well, our intentions are always good, so that helps.
I love you guys.
So,
can we just go through the entire Missoula playbook right there?
I love you all. Jimmy, I just want you to know that I told Sherrod I loved him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, this was.
I want you to know that.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
loud and clear.
This was. Here's the thing, and I don't know how much you guys have talked about like adjustments.
We just starting in on Joe. We kind of spent a lot of time on Jalen.
And the 8 turnovers,
kind of
right?
summed up our feelings overall.
Well, I mean, look, here's just the cliff notes or spark notes, as the Toscano generation and later says. But the short version is the Tatum injury was real. Like they played like they always play. The Tatum injury was real. Brown, Mr. Second Team All NBA, had a chance to step up. Showed his limitations tonight. Then I yelled about Jalen for a little bit, and that's kind of where we're at. But generally speaking, we were talking about, when you talk about Celtics basketball, you saw Celtics basketball tonight. Sadly, that's kind of what it is. But we're just about to get in on Joe because it's a real conversation to be had. What we started talking about is how he didn't do anything, and just kind of hoped that it would get better for most of the series,
the playoffs.
Yeah, I was really disappointed that he did not do anything in this entire series adjusting to their zone defense. I mean, the thing about the zone defense, and this is coming from someone who has grown up seeing that every day for like years with Jim Boeheim, when you have a big who can score inside the paint and from the free throw line in, they can be a tremendous asset. I hated seeing Al catch the ball in the paint and immediately swing it out versus catching the ball in the paint and actually shooting a little 8, 9, 10-foot jump shot. It was there for the taking over and over and over again. I also thought Joe did not do a good job adjusting to no Cody Zeller, but Income Highsmith. They threw one lob to Rob early on, and that was pretty much the only thing they did to take advantage of the fact that Miami went super small when they took Bam off the floor and replaced him with a wing. I just thought there were multiple opportunities for him to make tweaks, adjustments that would have made this, I think, a little bit more competitive and would have given Spoelstra at least some morsel of something to think about. That just never happened. And then you throw in the fact that you went feast or famine on the 3-ball. And when it was clear that shot wasn't working, why not come up with plays driving to the basket? Although I will say the first play to start the second half where Tatum blew that layup, that was a great play. That was the type of play where you get an easy bucket, you let your defense get set up, and maybe you can build some momentum off of that. But that turned out to be like a 5-point play because Tatum missed the layup, and then Miami came back and got a 3-pointer or 3-point
Martin
play.
got a 3. Yep.
Yeah.
Martin hit a 3, 5-point swing there. Yep.
Yeah. So this was
was horrible, Sherrod. I said that was the game.
What was horrible? There's so much to choose from.
That swing.
Okay. Yeah. Because you went from playing pretty good near the end of the second quarter, had it within a 1-possession game, and then you gave up a late basket down by 10, and then you come out and give up 7 straight to start the third.
Mm-hmm.
So
can't do that.
Pretty bad stuff throughout. Pretty bad stuff throughout. And I will say this, you're going to reach. We're gonna get into off-season stuff. It's impossible not to. You obviously have the big Jalen decision, and he didn't make it easy on you, the way he played against Miami. But if you're gonna make a Joe decision, you're gonna make it really soon. I don't know. I don't know if his job is safe.
I'm not feeling as confident about it as I did, last week. Because even when they were not playing well and they had to rally to get back in, I still thought that.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
He's going to be okay. Whoa, thanks, Jason, my man. But there was his inability to at least attempt to make adjustments was what bothered me. And as far as Jalen is concerned, the 8 turnovers you obviously hate. You obviously hate that. But I like the fact that he's been aggressive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I like the fact that he's trying to be aggressive. He was trying to be aggressive, and obviously ball handling has never been his forte. But the effort to try to do something was there. And again, in a game like this, you want to execute, obviously, but you can't execute unless you put forth the right kind of effort. And I thought Jalen was trying. He was just making mistake over mistake over mistake. But it wasn't due to a lack of effort. It was just that he was trying to do things that aren't in his particular skill set at this point.
Sherrod, if I try to cross the street but I don't look where I'm going and I get hit by a truck, do I get commended for the effort? Like, come on, like have
For
a
this
friggin-
team,
What?
for this team,
Well, John was aggressive trying to get across the street.
He had the right
Look around.
intentions.
I mean, he definitely wanted to get across the street. Look around.
the intentions
man.
were great, John. The intentions were great.
Yeah.
We
He
intended
tripped like immediately and stumbled into the truck.
We intended to try.
Here's the
to
thing,
think-
though.
Yeah.
If who else on this team other than Derek White played with better than average effort?
Nobody.
I don't think
just said
anyone.
the only one that stood out at all, maybe minimally, was Rob Williams for a tiny bit, but he didn't even play that long.
I didn't even think Rob still. I mean, Rob had some moments, yes,
That's
but Derek
it.
White was
Derek
White
White's
was the only one that actually had like a significant stretch
That's it.
where he was good. No one else was.
Third
Not
quarter.
a and you can't win a game like this with literally one guy who is what your ideal fourth, fifth option is like
Oh,
the
he's
guy.
been your third.
Yeah. So this is I mean, this is one of those big time soul searching type of games where you just don't know where this is going to go. You just don't know how this is going to shake down because there's so many question marks.
I think Brown doesn't understand his game.
Yeah, I mean, there's the obvious ones where you about Grant and about Peyton and about Jalen, but then there's the not so obvious ones, or about not just Joe Mazzulla, but that coaching staff. Because if you bring him back, you're not going to have the same staff. You're not. There's just no way you can do that. And so,
If you what now? Can you say that again?
if you're going to bring Joe Mazzulla back, you cannot have the same coaching staff. There needs to be a.
They need to add people. They lost
They-
like 3 assistants.
Well, not just that. They need to add the right kind of people. They need to add someone who's actually done this job before. To me, Frank Vogel is the logical guy that among the positions you fill, you bring to the mix. He's familiar with the organization. He's Brad's like low key BFF, and he's actually been in these type of games and has won at this level.
Mm-hmm.
So
You're talking bringing him back. You're talking about bringing him in as an assistant or as a head coach.
depends on what you do. I mean, if you're intent on keeping Joe Mazzulla as your head coach, you bring in somebody like Frank Vogel as your lead assistant. If you decide to get rid of him, I still think you bring in a guy like Frank Vogel.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm good
okay.
either way.
My only hang up with that, Sherrod, is if he's just a spitting image of Brad Stevens, then who's to say the players don't end up tuning him out the same way they tuned out Brad Stevens?
All I know is he got a championship, and Brad didn't. So that in itself distinguishes him from Brad.
Yeah, I mean, to answer this question, is Joe Mazzulla's job safe? I don't know. I would say I think safe is a strong word. I wouldn't say anyone's job is safe aside from Jason Tatum right now, because
Everybody's under review now. Everybody
Exactly.
should be under review.
Everyone's in the review. I don't think Joe Mazzulla did anything to earn like the word safe next to his job, because he came in as the interim head coach. As far as I'm concerned, he should have stayed the interim head coach all year, and then they make a decision on whether or not they want to lift that interim title or go in another direction, or he goes back to an assistant, whatever. They lifted it at the All-Star break. I think we all agree now it's premature that they did that, and now they have a much bigger decision to make, because there's no going back. If you're Joe Mazzulla, you don't go back to an assistant position on the Celtics team.
Right.
You're the
Yeah,
head coach,
that
or you're
genie's
gone.
out the bottle. That genie's out the bottle. You can't put that one back in.
And now, as far as the X's and O's and all that stuff goes, I don't really necessarily know that Joe Mazzulla did enough as a head coach to keep that job title. I'm not coming out with the pitchforks, but honestly, I'm also not going to vouch for him and say he deserves another chance. Like I'll leave it up to the powers that be, but I'm not going to be on the Joe Mazzulla,
At an
campaign
absolute
trail.
minimum, Jimmy, there has to be discussion about whether you want to go forward or not. At a minimum.
Right.
Whether you do or not, that to me that's above our pay grade, obviously. But
Totally.
if they come out and just say he's good, we don't need to talk about it, we're good, that's a problem. That is a major problem, because when you lose the way they did, everything should be examined to figure out how the hell did you get here? How did you blow through the regular season and get to the playoffs, and all of a sudden you become this team that can't score, can't defend, and then you put yourself in a 3-0 hole, and then you come all the way back and even things up, and then you got a chance to get to the destination that you always wanted to get to, but simply winning one game at home. And instead, you get into a series where you lose 3 out of 4 games at home. Who the hell does that? Lose
It's
3
bad,
out of 4
man.
home games in the
Yeah.
playoffs.
It's unheard of.
Wick's gonna fire Joe. And by the way, thank you, Nathan.
Thank
Wick's
you,
gonna-
Nathan. I appreciate you saying that.
Thank you very much. We do appreciate it. Wick's gonna fire Joe and take it out of Brad's salary.
And by the way, John, you should remind people who are new to the show that this show doesn't end just because the Celtics season ends. We're going to be going strong this offseason too. It's where all the fun. It's where all the fun happens.
We love you. Yeah, but we are going to have some. We are going to assess everything about the Garden Report and decide who we want back.
True.
Yeah. We are going to. Josue is on the hot seat. I'm just going to put it out there right now.
Yeah.
Legitimately.
Hey, Kellen, you forgot me. Thanks a lot.
Get that resume updated, Josue. Get that resume updated, buddy.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
It's like he's gonna put up a sticker. You know, when someone gets kicked out of a band, they're like, "Anyone need a drummer?" You know, like just gonna be like, any post-game show need a guy with bad Wi-Fi.
I'm the guy who I don't actually work here, so I can't get fired. I'm like that guy. He's like, no, he just keeps showing up. Nobody actually knows what he does.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my guy. Oh gosh,
John, what's this thing I'm looking at?
Oh, ready?
Yeah.
Can I put it up? This was a tweet
Yeah.
somebody sent me about Jalen, but I was gonna put it up in a second. Hold on. It was so somebody tweeted this at me. It was pretty good. Here it is.
Okay, hold on.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's pretty good. That sums it
Damn.
up.
Yeah,
That's
some-
tough.
That's
Some tough
pretty damn
truth
good.
right there.
Someone sent that to me. I want to give props to who it was. It was I don't know if they designed it. Soviet Yun 93.
Oh boy.
Sounds like somebody who would have designed this.
Oh boy.
It's pretty good though, right?
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
accurate, I would say, especially
Yeah.
tonight.
Especially tonight. 8 turnovers. Damn.
It's pretty good.
I mean,
Hey,
that's-
hold it down for a second.
Would you
Let me
rather
back.
give Jalen $300 million or Grant Williams $100
I was saying
million over 5 years?
whose stock went down percentage wise to what they thought they were going to get. You know, Jalen 50 and Grant 20. Who's going to get whose
Jalen,
numbers
yeah.
lower?
So what would he? Jalen for 300 and Grant for what? 80 over 4 or something?
Oh,
Yeah.
stop, Jimmy.
Well, that's what he wanted.
We're not saying Grant's going to get more than Jalen.
was
We're
gonna
saying who's
say.
taking a percentage hit worse here.
Yeah. All I'm saying.
I'll be right back.
Who would be what's the who's taking a bigger hit? I don't think Jalen's taking a hit.
No,
to be honest.
I don't either. I think Grant's the one that's going to take the bigger hit.
Grant's taking a huge hit, but I was a joke because both are tough decisions that you kind of have to make. Now.
See, you know what though? I think what they're gonna do is that they're not going to isolate the decision based on the conference finals. They're gonna say we're just gonna look at the entire body of work, and that kind of sucks for Grant because there's a chunk of the season where he was just MIA, and not because he wasn't capable of playing. He just didn't get an opportunity to. So I think Grant's going to take the bigger hit. But here's the thing about Grant. I think he's going to take a bigger hit financially in terms of the percentage of money that he wanted versus what he'll actually wind up getting. But I think he's going to be in position to be in a better situation for him personally, so that to me, the smart play for Grant was to do a 2 or 3 year deal and then play really well in those 2-3 years and get a bigger deal. Because if he signs something for like 4 or 5 years, the money that he'll get over 4 or 5 years, he's not going to be able to maximize his value that way. He's better off with a short-term 2-3 year deal, get out and hopefully get a player option in one of those last
He
years.
needs an Evan Turner contract.
You know what?
2
That
years.
was that was timing though, man. Evan he hit the free market when everybody was spending money. Everyone came
No. Sorry, what I mean is when Evan Turner signed with the Celtics for like a 2-year short money deal,
Yeah, it was
got a huge role and then cashed in. I mean,
exactly.
he should give Brad Stevens like 20% of his contract after that. But
I mean, Evan had like it was like 2 years, 10 million or
yeah,
something like that. It was real
crazy,
low money.
nothing, yeah.
And then he signed for like, he got more.
Was it like
in the
$480
first,
or something?
Yeah, he got more in the first year of his new deal than he got in the 2 years that he was in Boston.
Totally.
That's the way you want to do it. I don't know. I don't think Grant is going to get that type of payday down the road, but I do think that Grant, the smart play for him, Jimmy, to your point, is to sign a shorter term deal, and then hopefully get an player option in that, and then sign a longer term deal where his body of work, his resume will be a little bit more robust than it is right now.
Yeah,
because I'm not paying him more than $13 million, if that. So
yeah, I think that's
kind of the ceiling. It feels
high.
like for him.
Yeah, right. I honestly think he cut his. I think he's like a $10 million a year guy right now. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. With Jalen's the bigger question.
Well, listen, Jalen's going to get max or near max money. I don't think there's any question about that. And the other thing too that you have to keep in mind is that Jalen is one of several players who are working with the same agent. His agent has like 4 or 5 Celtics on his stable, so you're going that's there's no question that still kind of comes into play. I think that they're going to give Jalen. I don't know if he's going to get the Supermax. I think that they've got some wiggle room now between the max and the Supermax to work something out with Jalen. Because what he did in this Game 7, that's not Supermax money. That's not Supermax performance. And his overall body of work, I think, this year has been really good. But I'm not sure I don't think it's Supermax money.
What if he just says, then I don't want to?
There's no choice, though. It's Supermax or nothing. So really, your choice is not Supermax or less. Your choice is Jalen or no Jalen. It's Jalen for the Supermax or trade Jalen. Though you have 2 choices. You don't have another one.
Well, you're assuming that he will only accept the Supermax, then, John. Is that what you're saying?
If you do not offer it to him, Jalen leaves, because then he's just going to go get it somewhere else. If you're not going to pay him what your advantage,
Sherrod disagrees.
If you're not going to pay him what the advantage you've been given, he's going to go get a max deal somewhere else. If you're basically saying you're worth less than the Supermax, then he'll be like, good, I'm just going to go get.
But you can still give him more than the max without giving him the Supermax.
He's not getting it. I mean, he either gets it or he leaves. Sherrod, you disagree, so let me know.
Well, no, any other team
by miles
because he has that because he made All NBA and they can pay him the Supermax. The max elsewhere would be several millions less. If it's about money, then Jalen's going to stay in Boston because they're going to pay him more than anyone else will. It's just a matter of how much more will he make. I think that if I'm the Celtics, the smart play is to have a game plan where you say, look, if we pay you, let's say 8, 9, 10 million less than a Supermax or 5 million less than the Supermax, we can do X, Y, Z and bring in player 1, 2, 3 or something like that. You have to give him incentive to take less money. And I don't know how difficult that's going to be. But again, I think you now at least can have a conversation about doing something less than the Supermax based on how things played out this year in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think you can have it here. I don't think you can have it to Jalen. That's what I'm saying. I don't think Jalen's going to hear that. I think it's a reasonable conversation to be had. I just don't think he's going to. You tell Jalen, who's second team All NBA, he doesn't deserve the Supermax. You want every team.
He already hates you to begin with.
He hates us. He hates it here to begin with. So it's like that's the only leverage you have. So, I mean, every team has basically, theoretically, the ability to sign 2 players to Supermax deals. That's 60 of them. Not that everybody does that. You're telling me he's not getting one of those? He's getting a Supermax deal. He is. I don't care.
Well then, John, if you're the Celtics and you don't, and you have a similar thought that maybe Sherrod does, and that maybe you don't think he's worth the Supermax,
then you trade him.
Okay.
You trade him.
So he gets traded this offseason if that's their thinking. They're not going to get full worth for him either. He's going into a contract year.
You trade him. That's what you do. Definitely. That's what I think you do. So we'll get back. Jalen's going to be a super hot topic for sure. We'll get back to it in a minute. Malcolm Brogdon obviously struggled like crazy tonight.
It's a shame. He's probably he's gonna have surgery too or something.
And his thing was a mess. Here's Malcolm talking about the offense-defense situation and how the Celtics actually faltered here.
How big of an issue was that for this team this year?
It was the issue. I think this was a team in last year that prided themselves on defense. I think defense was their calling card, and this year, offense was our calling card. And I don't think you win championships, with a better offense than you have a defense.
You're right.
I think.
Tell the Nuggets who are going to win the title, but sure.
For sure. Depth. You can talk about the ways we can score our versatility on offense, really 1 through 7, 1 through 8. But defensively, I thought we have the versatility. I thought we have the talent defensively. But, on any given night, we would just, let go of the rope and have a lot of breakdowns on that end.
Yeah. I mean, he's right. I mean, defense will keep you in the game no matter how you're playing. Defense is always going to keep you in the game. And when you are a team that fluctuates at that end of the floor, you're susceptible to having major breakdowns at major moments in the season, like the playoffs. So I get what he's saying, but part of me thinks that it's on the onus of the team, the players, to step their game up defensively. I mean, coach, he may want to emphasize three-point shooting more, but guess what? You still got out there and play defense. You still have to elevate your play at that end of the floor. If you know that your team is at its best when you're playing elite defense, why the hell is that not happening? It's not like Joe's saying don't play defense and just shoot.
Well, I'm going to say I view that as a little bit of a dig at Joe.
It totally is. Absolutely.
There's been a few digs at Joe recently.
So that to me is I agree with that in principle, but part of it's a shot at Joe. Not emphasizing it, for sure. But it still doesn't ignore the fact that their offensive problems in a lot of these losses were profound, and the offensive philosophy was such that when it didn't go well, it completely impacted and affected the defense. And so you have to take those two things into consideration, where the way they played offense was one of the reasons why their defense was as poor as it was. So that's fine. Also, I mean, I know Malcolm says that, but yeah, look, Denver's going to win the title based on their offense. So, and if they don't, he can take a victory lap over that bite. But I disagree with the premise that you need to have elite defense or your defense has to be better than your offense. No, I don't think so. But you got to show up on the defensive end, and you can't pick and choose your spots. And so they are too casual on defense. They're just not. And a lot of it came down to, again, so much of the math we talked about with Joe, the philosophy. Give up this shot, don't give up that shot. Play drop and let them shoot those mid-range and all of the things that they did. There just wasn't a focus about just pressure them, just make everything hard, just pressure. Just be on people, just stick to them and make their lives really friggin' hard. Rotate over, communicate, and just be friggin' menaces out there. They just didn't do it. They played such a passive style of defense. Give them the mid-range. Hopefully Rob or someone else is back there to kind of protect the rim, and that was about it. That's all they did. And then just switch. And they got lazy. Soft switches, not going out on shooters, going under on screens, letting shooters get open threes. Just bad habits defensively. It really was hard to watch. It's hard to watch. But again,
Jaylen Brown footage, I think at some point, it sounds like he took some pretty serious responsibility for.
Yeah, I mean, how can he not? I'll tell you what's a little bit annoying right now. The reason we don't have more sound coming in right now is because the Celtics have chosen to run exit interviews tonight, which is ridiculous on the night of a game, and they're running every single player to the podium instead of just the guys who played in the game and then letting us all talk to the players in the next day or two, which is what you're supposed to do. And every single player is going to the podium right now, which leads me to believe we're not getting exit interviews. Maybe we will. Maybe it's both. But right now, every single player has gone. And we haven't heard from Tatum. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it's not everybody. We'll see. We'll see. So,
Well, hopefully we get Brown at some point.
yeah,
because-
Brown had a bunch of things. Took credit for the loss, not the end. We've got a lot better to give, a lot of basketball to play. That leads you to believe he's talking about this team that he plans on being on. So again, you're gonna have to read some tea leaves here to see what's happening with this team, and where they're coming from and what they want to do. So, yeah, I mean, who knows? We'll hear from these guys in a little bit. Real quick, we want to tell you guys about FanDuel here, and I saw a tweet earlier today that 82% of the action came in on the Heat, and the Celtics were -7.5 according to FanDuel. Again, you know me, I thought the Celtics were going to come and run them out of the building. I really did.
I've been wrong every way,
and we've been wrong nonstop, and I'm sure a lot of people have too, but a lot of people had the Heat in this one. So kudos if you did. If you haven't signed up and you'd like to get involved in any of the action here, FanDuel is the sponsor of the NBA playoffs. So you can head over to FanDuel.com. And if you are as wrong as we've been, and you can't be wrong every time, but if you're wrong once, FanDuel will give you a no sweat first bet up to 1,000. That's 1,000 in bonus bets back when you get it wrong, as we have again time and again. So once again, head over to FanDuel. Super easy to sign up. 1,000 in bonus bets at FanDuel.com/Boston. That's our custom URL there. That's how they know we sent you. FanDuel.com/Boston, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. So where did I? Yes, I played that Brogdon bite. I might have one more. I'll get it to you. But any other thoughts, guys? What we were just talking about?
This is
no.
I mean, there's so much to unpack with this team, and we're gonna have a whole summer to get to that. But
it's a question that people are going to be asking all off season, or have already started to ask. Is it
time to reset?
Yeah.
It's
not like
question.
a hard reset. Like, you're not going to blow up every single player on this roster. But if you're talking about the core, the only real change you're going to make is to change somebody from the core of this team, which is Tatum, Brown, Smart. That's basically the core, right? I mean, I don't think Derek White's going anywhere. That's for sure, after how he's sort of become acclimated with this team. But who knows? I mean, if they make some serious changes, then he could be in that group too, for all I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum talking now about the ankle, said it was pretty legit, swollen, had a tough time moving pretty much all night long. It's fine. I do not view this as an excuse. It was evident. This wasn't a Tatum turtled game. You watched him the rest of the first. He couldn't walk.
Yeah.
Couldn't walk. He couldn't do anything. He was the rest of the first quarter. He was a decoy. He just stood in the corner. You know.
He probably couldn't even take the sneaker off because it probably would have been hard to get it back on.
It was brutal. Yeah.
So it sucks. Yeah, that was unlucky. It really was. Just going up for a rebound.
I was
within like seconds of the game starting. I mean, not even enough time to get in any kind of flow.
No.
And the fact that he was down for so long, you knew that he wasn't milking it. I mean, he was legitimately hurt. And again, all the things you're going to be looking at if you're the Celtics, as far as like what happened this year, that's going to be one of those things that will come into play. But you know what? To me, you never should have been in a Game 7 with these guys. That, to me, I can't get past the fact that they absolutely gave away multiple games in this series and put themselves in this predicament to where you're in a Game 7 and you run the risk of your key guy getting hurt like Tatum did.
I just don't know how you score 84 points and we're talking about defense. I really don't. I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, they scored 84 friggin' points tonight.
Because John, I'll tell you why. Because they suck in the half court. And if they can't get stops on defense, then they can't get out in the break and score in transition, which they didn't do at all tonight. The fast break was completely one-sided. Like, this team's better when they're running and they're gunning, and then they can score threes in transition, and they can keep the Heat backpedaling. If you let the Heat play their freaking zone, get back on defense, then it all translates. It's all together.
And the Heat were efficient as hell. offensively. I mean, they were around 50% pretty much the entire game on threes.
47-50 splits with only 8 turnovers. Oh, who else had 8 turnovers?
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. The team he had more turnovers than the rest of the team. That's never a good sign. Because the Celtics had 15, I think, total. Jalen had 8 of those 15. Not good. But as weird as this may sound, though, and Jalen talked about just not being able to, carry the team when Tatum's ankle was bothering him. It may, if you really think about it, make him more inclined to stay because he kind of saw what it looks like when you've got to be that guy. And he's a good player, very good player. But I think this series exposed him a little bit as far as he may not be ready to be the man. He can be next to the man, but he may not be the guy that can carry.
You think he believes that?
He's not willing to accept that.
I don't know if he believes that, but if he's watching the same film and video that we're watching,
I mean, most Celtics fans don't believe it. Like they'll still tell you, like. So I mean, I don't know, Sherrod. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. I think he thinks if he had an opportunity and he was the guy and every team was running plays for him and he had all the parts that he could do it. This is fair here, and again, we'll talk about it. But I agree here. We did not get enough lube tonight.
Don't get me started. I got in trouble.
I do agree.
Damn it, Jimmy.
I do agree. And it doesn't look like every single player went to the podium, but a lot of the principals did. And anybody who played. So
you're not going to see those guys again.
1, 2, 3.
Did Grant go to the podium?
Grant got the F out of there.
Interesting.
Oh, boy.
That is actually very interesting because Grant is not a player who, as we know, is ever short on words. So that actually speaks volumes that he did not stick around to answer any questions tonight. He probably didn't want to say what was on his mind and didn't want to answer some of the questions that were going to come his way. So he left.
So I'll ask this, and this is fine. This was supposed to be the year. I think Giannis kind of changed everybody's thinking of what failure is. With his super articulate quote after Milwaukee went down to the Heat. But I'm sorry. It's a conference final. You're one of 4 teams standing. It's a failure. This was supposed to be a finals winning team. This team was favored to win the NBA finals most of the year. When Milwaukee went out, they were favored to win the NBA title. Throughout the playoffs, they had home court advantage throughout the playoffs. After the Bucks went down, they faced an 8 seed that was missing 2 of its players. This is a failure. This is a fail. It's a fail. I'm sorry, and I wonder, whether I think it's fair to ask whether this Game 7 loss undoes the 3-game comeback, because it's just a reminder of everything that they do poorly, and that there's problems. It's just I honestly would have felt better if they got swept.
No, you wouldn't have. You wouldn't have.
No, you totally would not have.
You wouldn't have, but I understand your point. This is a lot. Again, we said it right at the top, John. They lost this game the same way they lost all the others.
Why won't you let me feel what I want to feel? Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to allow it. I won't allow it.
You're
talking crazy now, all right?
Come on, John.
Just leave me alone, man. Shut up. They wanted them to get swept. Screw you, Mom.
Yeah.
Dad.
Wish they never won. I wish they never won. Wish they never won a game.
I wish they never won a freaking game, period.
I hate you.
It doesn't make it any better. It just doesn't, but it's not worse.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Thank you, New York Knicks fan.
Yes,
I think they did need to beat the Heat.
I wonder why.
You need a new offense. I would agree there. No, we would not trade. We would not trade Jaylen Brown. Very good try. For 10, if I give you $10, will you trade Jaylen Brown for RJ? No, I don't think so.
What about Brunson and Barrett?
Ooh.
Okay.
That's a conversation.
Now we're talking here. All right, New York Knicks fan.
Conversation.
Toss in Brunson, and maybe we'll give you a call back. How about that?
No.
Conversation.
Brunson's a gamer.
No, they
They need to get rid of another guard, though. Like that. They got Brunson.
they're gonna have spots. I mean, you figure out there's gonna be at least 2 spots open, at least. Just by, like I don't see Grant coming back. I don't see Pritchard back.
Oh, shit.
And I figure, what?
What's a try?
Wait, I think that's
Sherrod.
Turkey.
It's Turkish lira.
Yeah.
So what would we make?
$1 million there.
109.99. People do that in Turkey too, huh? They do the one less. What was it, like a deal? Is there a deal
It's a sale price.
Super Chats?
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, I think that's. Oh, I don't think that's.
That's
much.
okay. We
Come
don't
on.
want to
No,
disparage.
we want to
them.
know. We
That's
want to
okay.
know.
Anything is great.
Anything's great. I'm just interested. That's all.
I think it's
Josue,
like a
I
nickel.
feel
What?
like I feel like
Okay,
this
if
is
it's a
super
nickel, then
loud.
hell no.
This feels like super loud Josue coming in.
No.
Yeah, even your whispers are loud.
Yeah,
Is it?
it's totally.
It's
is.
five.
It
It's
is.
five. It's $5.50. Thank you. We'll take it.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
How much
Not a
is
nickel.
this
Appreciate
in US dollars?
Jimmy, do the math.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh.
Carry the 4.
Don't make me count. Don't make
Hey
me
Mike,
count.
thank you very much, and we do
Thank you,
do
Mike.
appreciate
Thanks
it. And
everybody.
I will,
Honestly.
I will have another
Thank you, Mike.
Asahi. I think I will. I think I will.
Oh,
Thank
man.
you
Is
to
that kind of
everybody.
party?
Oh man, damn! I wish I
Is
had
that
one.
kind of.
Josue,
Where we going?
way, do something. Turn it
Even
way
if
down.
even if you
Way
don't
down.
do super
Yeah.
chat, thank you guys because
It's coming in
just
hot.
fun being here.
Sorry. Extremely hot. The mic. See if there's a knob
Oh,
you can
me?
turn down there. Yeah. No, Josue was coming in hot.
I thought I was hot guy. Old joke. Old
Yeah, I know you were.
show joke.
We
Hawk eye.
Does Josue know he's on the hot seat or no?
If he doesn't, he's
No.
got the hot
It's like
mic.
it's like Josue's down 17, coming out of the friggin' break, and he just turned it over, first possession.
Well, he looks like he's ready to go.
Look how
Let's
far
give him
back
another
he
chance.
is. He's like 100 yards back from the mic. Let's try
How's
it.
this? Is that better?
So barely.
Yo, didn't you produce this show? You can't control my volume.
down 15.
No.
He's down 15 now,
Like,
John.
how
He's
can you
down
not control
15.
my
So
volume?
it's
Okay,
better.
I can't. I mean, there should be settings on your mic, or
Can you control your volume?
Can you?
Obviously, I can't.
Okay. All right. Let's give it a shot.
We'll just use our inside voices, I guess.
Yeah. We will.
I'll produce this to speak. I am speaking.
What did you think?
Yeah.
We'll run some. We're gonna run some soundbite in here. I was told Al got a little testy with Bob. That could be Bob Manning. It could be Bob Ryan. I don't know.
Wouldn't be Bob Manning.
Ooh,
Bob
let's get it,
Shaw.
let's get it.
Bob who?
It's not Bob Strawn, as I was saying. There's 4 Bobs in there technically. It wasn't the ones you named. It was Manning.
Okay.
It seemed like a lot of players
Oh boy.
didn't
Yep,
think you
Manning.
guys found the consistency you needed to this year. How do you evaluate the consistency the team played with this year, and why do you think you might not have been as consistent as?
I'm not going to get caught up in consistency questions and things like that. We have a good group. We had a lot going on this year, and our guys should hold their heads high because we had a lot of adversity, and in that locker room we dealt with a lot of things, and our group was very professional all year, worked really hard, and it's disappointing that we didn't get our results. We failed. We failed because we wanted to win a championship. That was our goal.
Al, my guy.
But despite that,
my guy.
I'm very proud of that group because there was never any excuse. We went through ups and downs, but we stuck with it. So right now, I feel like we want solutions, and sometimes you kind of have to step back and look at the work, and that's just not going to happen right now.
Let me ask
I'm
a quick
confused.
question. Let me ask you a quick
We
question.
failed. Did you
What
hear
was the
that?
adversity?
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
know-
confused about.
I know what they went on at the beginning of the season, but
Yeah.
through the course of the year, is there a single team that doesn't feel they underwent adversity? They all do. The Celtics did not have
It is.
heavy-duty injuries. They didn't have a lot of publicized drama. So if there was as much adversity as Al is talking about there, then there's a bunch of stuff that was happening beyond the scenes, whether it be infighting or issues with the coach or something like that we didn't know about. Because otherwise,
That's what I can't
Something that
figure
we don't
out.
know about.
otherwise
I agree
that's
Well, you know,
otherwise that's just
Well-
smoke. That's not real.
Well, John, the team that they just lost to, they know what adversity is like. When
Yeah,
you
Tim,
lose
I know they
not
lost
one, but
Gallo. That's not adversity. They lost their 9th
That's
player.
not during the season either.
That's not during the season.
No.
And you get to
Obviously,
find
the
fucking-
Missoula Ime
Damn it,
thing
Tim.
is a big deal. But during the season, throughout the season, there was a bunch of stuff. What?
Yeah, I don't think it's about
Right.
It's beyond that.
He made it seem like there was like a
lot
ton of,
going
like,
on.
Yeah, but
What?
we never heard of anything. I'm not saying that doesn't mean there wasn't any, but I'm just surprised to
Yeah.
hear that.
Tell me. I want details. Bobby, follow up.
Damn it, Bobby.
damn it.
What was the adversity?
We don't
How do
know.
I don't know.
I mean, you would have to point. You have to point between players and coaches, right? Or players in front office.
The only
Ownership, maybe?
the only noticeable adversity was the Ime stuff.
Right, but again,
I mean, they didn't. That,
for the season.
and I can't put that in a box of a lot of stuff because you had that at the beginning of the season and you wound up with the second best record in the East. So it couldn't have been that.
Honestly,
I mean, I'm guessing
We
that
talked about
he's talking about something that we don't know
that's
about.
what I mean.
That's
is
the
we
only
talked
thing that would
about
make
how,
sense.
outside of what happened at the beginning of the season, which was a major story and a big deal, how much good fortune they had throughout the season and the playoffs. How they had terrific injury luck. They did not have a lot of issues. They really didn't, not outwardly. So I don't know what went on. I don't know what went on there.
I feel like you're talking about something in house.
Their biggest issue is that they did not handle prosperity well. When you play a team like Philadelphia that's not playing the MVP and you lose, when you play a Miami Heat team that's missing basically two of their top 3-4 perimeter guys, and you don't find a way to take advantage of that, that's not on adversity. That's on you as a player.
Yep.
And that to me,
Yeah,
that's what
it's
bothers me
almost
about
like
what
the
Al said.
Princess Bride. Like I don't think that word means what you think it means. Like I don't think you've had
Yeah.
adversity.
Almost like what?
Just shit was weird. Like you
Yes,
sucked
that-
and didn't suck at times. Like that's
Well,
kind of what happened.
What's
Yeah.
the Princess Bride?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree.
The inconceivable. You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think. Yeah. What you think it means. Thank you, Kieran. We appreciate
Thank you, Kieran. Thank you very much.
it.
We
Yeah.
also got one here. Get Paul Reed or Nas Reed in the offseason. They are UFA.
I like
do
Nas
too.
Reed.
He was the best big on
I
the
like him a
Timberwolves.
lot.
Was he Timberwolves? What team was he on? I forget.
He was
Yeah.
with the Timberwolves for a bit.
He was
Too
their best
late.
big.
Too late. You missed the Nas Reed train. Left the station a long time ago, guys. He's not like
Yeah,
that
you
guy.
could've got him on a
You don't
cheap.
get that guy anymore. Sorry.
What do you mean? He's gonna be
You're
free.
not going to get him on a cheap.
Ugh, you don't have $1 to spend.
Well, that's not my problem. We can
Buy,
figure it
buy
out.
high, sell low.
We need to sell more Wicks tequila, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good, by the way. No, it's really good, Ash.
It's
That's another
expensive
story
as
another day.
F.
Nick likes to throw it around when we go to Real House from time
He
to
does. He did last time I was there. I was like, what the hell?
time. Yeah.
It's good though, man. It's really good.
Yeah.
So Josue, I mean,
Yeah, Josue, hit us with what you got over there.
Yeah, let us know what you got, buddy.
Man. Miami won a bit more, man. Miami came with it. I mean, you can talk.
Josue's down 13,
You can
y'all.
talk, you can
Down
talk about
13.
the open shots and how the 3-point shot was falling for Miami, but at the end of the day, they just handled every punch every push the Celtics did. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like they were even punching out there. And what they want about Tatum not doing well, but it was a team effort here, and I just feel like the Miami Heat just out hustled these guys, and they were just more focused. The Celtics weren't loose enough, and you could tell from shoot around the Miami Heat, they were not looking at this game as if, man, we could really blow this thing. They were very confident, and you saw just how tight the Celtics were from the beginning. And look, I don't know if that was just a ripple effect from seeing Tatum get banged up and how he was walking throughout the rest of the night, but either way, I mean, it just didn't change anything in the Celtics' approach. I mean, Jaylen Brown with the turnovers, yeah, I mean, you can point the finger at Jaylen as you know, in terms of how his offense was slowing down and how he couldn't find its rhythm, but at the end of the day, I mean, they just couldn't keep up with the Miami Heat. The transition defense, the turnovers, the way they were making these guys pay for these terrible passes coming out of halftime. That third quarter said a lot about which team really wanted it more and was going in for the kill. And that was all Miami. It wasn't even close. So,
yeah. I mean, you know what? Caleb.
It was all Miami basketball Jones. And damn it, they didn't fall under the pressure. Sorry, Sherrod, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, you know, Caleb Martin, you know, when he gets his next contract, he really should be sending a portion of that to, like, the Celtics Shamrock Foundation or somebody involved with the organization. Because on a real, I mean, they put him on the freaking basketball payroll map in this series. I mean, the dude shot damn near, 65% from the field, a wing, doubles every night. I mean, he even had Celtics fans on Twitter saying that should have been the MVP, not Jimmy. So. I agree. Celtics fans don't throw anyone a bone, especially right after a loss, and they were doing that today, like, in a big way. No, he was good. He was good. They don't win the series without him.
Fuzzy gets me every time. What does Brockton Wi-Fi sound like? No, crap. I don't know, man. The Caleb Martin thing. You know, whatever. Fine. He hit some shots. Like Tyler Herro hits shots. You know, if he played, he would have hit some shots. But he was giving up a ton of shots. And he wouldn't rebound.
Way too many shots.
Dude, they gave Jimmy Butler Eastern Conference player the Larry Bird trophy, right? MVP of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
I thought Caleb Martin should have got it, to be honest, but
did we just have that conversation?
We spaced out for that one.
We were literally having.
I thought I rewound the show or something, and I was listening to it. I was like, "Oh crap, I'm on delay." Like, you know when you pause it to go get a snack. Oh my god!
Jimmy.
I'm like tweeting about shit that happened 10 minutes ago.
The season is finally over.
I guess they're doing interviews of all the players tonight. They're not. They're not doing exit interviews.
Bobby.
Hey, Bobby, what's going on, man?
Bobby, why did you no?
Oh God, no volume.
Well, look at this, guys. We have a 2K trade here that solved all the issues. Here it is. Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart for Damian Lillard, and the Celtics won the title. So there you go.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
Boom.
Bobby, what did you say to upset Al?
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
No.
We still don't have any volume.
No.
We got the Audio Brothers over at the TD Garden tonight.
Josue's cleaned his up. Bobby's on the hot seat now.
All right. I'll get Bobby. Oh, Bobby's internet connection's coming in pretty weak, it looks like.
Where is?
I don't know where he is.
He's usually around here, too.
By the way, while Bobby's still there working on his audio, I'm going back to that Al question. Everything Bobby said was completely right. Why are you guys – basically what Bobby asked in a nice way was, why do you play like assholes from time to time? That's the nice way to put it, okay? Hey, but he said a nice word like consistency. Al had no reason to get snippy. You're inconsistent. One day you guys look good. Then the other day you look like the worst team in basketball. Your effort wanes from quarter to quarter, possession to possession. It's something everyone can see. Blind people can see it. It was not a very difficult question to ask.
But I think it was more of Al trying to
he was annoyed, and he doesn't like Bobby because he doesn't know that Bobby has a Horford jersey in his place.
That's not true.
Right. That's what I want to know is if the jersey's going to stay. I think you have to take it down.
Bobby, you got to tear that jersey down the second you get home.
Horford's looking at Bobby like, we just won 3 out of 4. And I know some people want to hear that, but I don't know. He's in his feelings a bit. They just lost.
Oh, my God, Bobby, what is that?
He has circus over there. Unbelievable.
Bobby, we can't.
What wing are you at? Looks like you're in a close-up.
I don't know where he is.
All right, I think we're.
Bobby, are
the
you
neon
like
sign
at
is
like a Dunkin' Donuts, like in Morning Rush right now? Like just people screaming in
Somebody
the background.
just didn't get their. Somebody didn't get their.
I said I want a turbo shot.
I said extra, extra. You guys, extra, extra.
Come on.
Come on, I need my fucking turbo shot.
Oh man,
I said extra large, extra, extra.
that kind of night.
Go back there and make it myself.
Anyway, go ahead, Bobby.
I do have a Dunkin' right here.
Anyway, Bobby, what's up? You were in a lot of those interviews there. What's going on?
Yeah.
What's the vibe, I guess?
So
we blew it, or we had a good season, get off our backs?
Everyone said the latter. The sentiment, though, just visually on everyone's face, on Jaylen Brown's face in particular, just looked exhausted. Al Horford talked about fatigue beyond what you mentioned, the answer to my question. He thought this group wore down as the playoffs progressed. Said they're going to have to address the moments where things didn't go right. I forget exactly how he put it, but he said that went all the way back to the Hawks series. They were trying to address different things, and they just couldn't make it right. But there was generally an attempt by the whole team to remain upbeat. Even Jaylen Brown, who paused at a lot of questions for a long time, talked about the team's future and them having a good outlook together, while also, when asked about his future, saying he'll cross that bridge when he gets there, and not knowing how to, the classic Jaylen, I don't know how to answer that question. So lots of pauses from Brown, similar to the one Gary tweeted about after game 3, a lot of pausing, a lot of almost looking like he's biting his tongue on certain things. But there's definitely, if I had to use one word, an exhaustion evident across this group.
Tell me, how did the Celtics fail JB tonight?
No, inexcusable performance. You have to think, like, we can nitpick what direction they went in. It clearly looked like White was the guy you should have leaned on earlier in the game based on how that third went. But logically speaking, it makes sense to pivot from Tatum to Brown in that spot. And he played one of the worst games we've seen from him here in a Celtics uniform, in zero control, not setting anyone else up on the ball. You saw how they wanted to leverage his driving into kickouts and the way the offense normally functions, right? But a lot of time he just missed those pull-ups in the lane or lost the ball, and it happened over and over and over again. You don't want to assess his future on one game, but this is a tough way to go out as you assess giving him $300 million. I think that's the right way to put it, right?
I don't know. We're a bit of a disagreement here. Sherrod thinks Brown might be able to be had for less. I don't see it. You've got.
I don't think he'll take a penny less than $295.
You've got one shot, and that's this Supermax extension. Now you're not waiting to offer him less at the end of his contract.
And you can't let him go to free agency.
It's give him $295 or trade him. It seems like a binary choice to me, but Sherrod seems to think there's other ways here. And that's fine. I'm not I don't see it, but
I think you can have a conversation about it. And if he says, nope, I'm not taking anything less than a Supermax, then you're like, okay, fine. We'll cut you the check. But Jaylen is a really, really good player. I think we all agree with that. But there are certain aspects of his game that are problematic.
Like all of them, every one of them, but scoring? Yeah.
No. His ability to finish at the rim more times than not, I think, is pretty good. The turnovers and the ball handling, I think those are the two biggies that are just make you cringe more times than you really want to. But ultimately, if it comes down to giving him a max deal to keep him here, then you do it. If that's what it's going to take. I just think that you should at least be able to have a conversation about something that's between a regular max and a super max. That's all. That's all.
But hey, I don't know. I mean, I also think that John's right in that, Brown hasn't necessarily showed that he loves everything about, playing here, I would say, to put it lightly, just based on some of the comments that he's made over the years. And so is he willing to take a hometown discount? I highly doubt that. And I don't know what decision the Celtics are at the top are going to try to make. I couldn't even begin to guess right now. But I know that if people want to see real change, then you got to cut the snake off at the head, so to speak, if you really want to see a different makeup of this team. It's not going to be, changing out Hauser and Pritchard and Grant and Al and everybody else outside of the core of this team. So you really have to figure out the devil you know or the devil you don't know. Which one's worse?
I'd love actually to make a bold declaration on Brown tonight, who I love and is, as I said, one of my favorite Celtics ever.
That's crazy, but go on.
As I've said,
so far down my list, but that's fine.
It's baffling, but please.
I honestly can't even count that high, but that's fine.
As I've said,
I know I can't.
You gotta think about like the last 15 years.
As I've said throughout this series, there's going to be a strong case to shop him, not only from a CBA standpoint, from a team building standpoint, but also from assessing his play this year, which at times grew very one-dimensional. And I asked Jason, how important is it to keep Brown here long-term? And he gave I'd say tepid, very important, great player, 2 ways, great career so far. Typical Tatum tone, but he did give the support to keeping Brown. Brown so non-committal here tonight.
Here is that bite. Here's Tatum.
Jason, you and Jalen have obviously been through it all together since day one. How important is it for this team to keep him here long term as he goes into extension talks this summer?
It's extremely important. He's one of the best players in this league. Plays both ends of the ball and, still relatively young. So, and he's accomplished a lot so far in his career.
Who the hell's heads in a damn camera shot?
I think it's
No one respects.
Extremely important.
No respect. Should have smacked him in the
So,
okay. Back to Tatum.
What do you think of the endorsement?
Truly ringing.
Very, very Tatum-y.
Yeah.
I mean, he said the words, but it was like, it's like instead of saying someone like
reading off note cards.
I love you, will you marry me? It's like, if we got married, that would be okay. Like
it makes sense for tax purposes that we make this official.
It's very important that we get married.
Getting married would be beneficial to both of us.
The tax benefits are amazing. They're phenomenal.
Both ends of the floor. It's like not convincing me.
But that's the thing. So this
I
is
think
the
we
most
complement each other enough where, except these guys actually compliment each other.
Anyway.
There's a lot that's frustrating about this season for Brown because he was so great. He made strides, made all NBA, of course, because other forwards were injured in part. But the other ends of his game, the important parts for him to become that great rounded number 2, didn't come together. The playmaking can point to a few moments where he showed some strides there, but overall a huge step back. And I'll pull up the assist turnover numbers for the collective season by the end of the show here, but we know that wasn't where it needed to be. And the defense, again, your reputation shouldn't stand in front of what's actually happened here. And Tatum there and analysts everywhere and the reputation nationally is that he's a great defender. He wasn't all year.
Or for the last 5 years, for 3 years. I mean, come on.
The playoffs particularly, a huge disappointment on that end. And when all different guys talk about losing the defensive identity, yes, we'll look at the coach, but individuals need to take it on themselves. And it's on Tatum too. no one took accountability during the year for this stuff. And when we asked about it, it was like, what? We're number 2. We're number 1 this week. We're number
right.
So where was this when it mattered? And this is the story of this season. They didn't clean up the things. They didn't take accountability for the things early in the year during the regular season that people called them out for. And they all festered in the playoffs, and they had an incredibly inconsistent postseason. I mean, you had 3 games, crucial games, Game 7 to end the year, Game 5 of the Philly series, you didn't show up. Game 3 of this series, where you put yourself in an impossible 3-0 hole, and it's great that you worked yourself back, but the Heat get 4 chances, and they took advantage of the 4th. So many critical games in this postseason, even the chance to take a 3-0 lead on Atlanta early and effectively put them away. This team just dropped the ball and or didn't show up. And a lot of that was a lack of defensive accountability. A lot of it was a lack of leadership. I thought at times tonight it didn't look like they had a plan for when Tatum went down. It was a ship without a captain for a lot of the year, but everybody on the ship needs to take individual accountability if there isn't going to be that far and away leader. And I think the whole team struggled with that throughout the year.
So I want to address this.
Yeah.
Real quick. This whole like idea behind Tatum and Brown or the core or the best players, and anytime any sort of criticism comes their way, the arguments on the other side are he made All-Star game, he's all NBA player, he's their second best player, he's great. What you're arguing is for the money or for this type of player filling this slot on your team, is that the person that you want here? Is there a way to do something different? You're not arguing
that's the question.
You're not arguing that Jaylen Brown is bad. I'm so tired of this conversation. I'm tired of the Tatum and Brown conversation too. And people saying, what's better? It's not like you're not just stacking awards and accolades. It works or it doesn't. Okay? If you think it still works, you keep running it back and you might be proven right eventually. But if you do it time and time and time again, you're now in year 6 of the core of Smart, Tatum, and Brown, and there's something you see that's not working, you have no choice but to address it by moving a piece, okay? The reason Brown gets brought up all the time is because you view Tatum as the unmovable piece. And so it's, if I traded someone as good as Jaylen, could I get something else really good that might fit better? That's the whole convo, and it's always been the convo. You're not talking about taking Jaylen and just tossing him out and not signing him and letting him leave and being happy that that bum's no longer here. It's never been the combo. I'm so tired of people not getting that. It's just, if you're going to make a change, you're limited in your options. And the conversation is going to keep coming back here. And I'm sorry, he didn't do himself any favors with his performance here. So the conversation is going to center again on Brown this offseason because of his situation, his contract situation, and how he's played recently. That's going to be the convo. Some people aren't going to like it, but it's going to be the conversation. Why do you think his name comes up in trades all the time? Because he's really good, other teams want him, and you think you might be able to get something else that you might want more if you traded him. That's always been the issue. So it's going to happen again. But right now, you're also staring this recent failure in the face, which complicates the equation because you've seen something that's going to make you wonder whether or not you want to move forward. And certainly if you want to move forward at the price it's going to take. Right or wrong, that's the conversation, okay? And it's a reasonable one to have. I don't think it's a ridiculous conversation.
And I want to tentatively say, maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like you have to decide now.
I feel like you got to decide right now.
Yeah, you do.
You need to trade him at $30 million. It will be impossible to trade him, even if teams want him at $50 million, because it's going to be so complicated to move that money and take that money back, particularly when you're, and I don't want to get into the weeds too much on this, but when you're second apron penalty team under the new CBA, it limits immensely your ability to make trades. It, of course, limits your future draft picks that you can send out, but it also, in terms of money coming in, money coming out, restricts you immensely. So you have one chance to make this decision. And like you said, John, a lot of it's going to come down to who's out there. And it will be, I think, difficult to find fair value for him. Not impossible, but difficult. And so you're just going to have to assess.
You're not. If you're going to look at
what can change
trades,
what can change the team dynamic in a way that you think is more likely than not.
You're going to look at strength for strength if you're going to try to make a deal. You're going to look at situations like Atlanta that has Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, and maybe a redundancy there. Not that you're trading them straight up, but those you might look at like Minnesota that's got Cat and Gobert and say they might. And that's just where you're going to look.
Can't
I'm not
do
saying
those guys. Come on.
I'm not saying do it. I'm saying those are the types of trades you're going to do where two teams are going to view it as strength for strength. I've got a redundancy. I've got too much of one thing, and I could use a little bit of something else. Or maybe the thing that isn't quite working here, even though I have a talented player, but it's not working, might work there and vice versa. Again, no one's going to like any proposal that comes up for Jaylen Brown because they're going to be protective of him and they're going to hate it. So
he's going to be the highest paid player in the NBA when he's.
But he's going to be the highest paid player.
John, you know where I've stood on this before, and I
think about that.
I think you have to sign him and retain the asset. I don't think you have a choice.
This is good.
I think you have to. I think you have to see what's out there.
Yeah, John, I'm surprised you're not for trading him, or at least seeing what's out there, seeing the options.
We're doing this comment again, guys. We get it. It's not subtracting him for zero.
Yeah.
God, it's so frustrating. You can't have these conversations if you're going to have them like this.
Let's run through everybody else.
It's like we did this with Marcus Smart forever. Everyone's like, "What? Nobody ever suggested trading Marcus for nothing." Okay, it's not what you're doing. You're trying to trade something of great value for something else of great value.
Right.
It's not like if Jaylen Brown stopped playing, the Celtics would have been as good this year. Of course they wouldn't.
When you had a chance to get Durant for him last year, would you have done it now?
You heard, I flipped completely on that. I was anti.
A lot of people were anti.
As soon as Durant got dangled again this year, I said, do it. I flipped on it.
Yeah. It's a tough call because if you don't make the right deal and you lose a player like that,
therapy fees.
It's devastating. But run through the list of everybody else.
The therapist is
I'd say it's impossible to trade Tatum, and I don't think it's a good idea. Smart. His value to you is so much more high than anyone else's, than he would be to anyone else's. I just don't think there's value there to moving him. And in fact, I thought he was one of your stalwarts this year. I thought he really was crucial to everything they did the whole way, right up until the end. White, you love White. Like Brogdon, we'll see what that looks like. I don't know if he's going to get surgery or what here on this injury, but he helped you more than he hurt you, I thought, this year.
Thanks, EJ.
Go through the list. I mean, Rob, sure. Like, what's the value on Rob? And you need a center of the future. Al's not getting any younger.
I'm done with Rob.
Done
and
with
Grant.
Rob.
I mean, Grant might be gone.
I love Rob,
Grant.
but I mean, I'm done.
Rob.
I'm done counting on Rob being anything other than energy minutes off the bench. I just don't think he can hold the load.
Energy. Oh God, that would be great.
I mean, they're so much better when he's on the floor playing at 100%, but you just don't get that. You just don't get it enough.
Well,
they're so much better when he's out there. Even tonight, just short stint, he comes in there, block, offensive rebound. They're so good when he can be good. I'm so done. I don't know, Bobby. We don't have to have the full offseason conversation here.
We have a lot of time for that.
Yeah, we got a long time here. We will hear from Jaylen Brown, though. Jaylen Brown's going to talk about his future. And as you said, a lot of hemming and hawing about, what he wants to do, what he's going to do, which I don't understand the pause, but, here's what Jaylen's talking about.
Have you been able to kind of think about your future here and what you're hoping for?
I expected to win today and move on. And that's what my focus was on. That's what my focus has been on. We failed. I failed. and it's hard to think about anything else right now, to be honest. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Obviously, you mentioned about the future you guys have ahead. This summer, you have some decisions to make in terms of an extension. Boston, if it gets offered, what is kind of your mindset about that this summer, and what is your expectation for how that'll play out?
Say that again.
In terms of the possibility of you getting an extension this summer, especially after making All-NBA, what is kind of your thought process going into the summer, and how do you expect it to play out?
You guys, what's my thought process?
This is excruciating.
This is Jalen. He's uncomfortable.
What a pause.
You have to expect this question.
I don't even really know how to answer that question right now, to be honest. My thought process is, take it one day at a time. Focus on, getting better. Focus on, what the future holds and see where we are from there. I guess I don't really know how to answer that.
Okay.
This is, Sherrod, you first. Because if I start talking, I won't stop.
All right.
Lord knows that.
Lord knows.
The level of awkward/uncomfortableness in those damn pauses says everything. It says everything. That's a pretty straightforward question. How do you think things are going to play out this summer with your status? And if you got to think about that, you're probably thinking about more than just coming back here, because the easy answer would have been like, if they offer me a max deal, then I'll take it. So if it's not that cut and dry, this could be a very interesting summer. Because if I'm a team that's interested in him and I hear him respond to that question like that, I'm like, we might be able to get in the mix for this guy.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, I agree, Sherrod. I feel like it sends the message of how hesitant he is to stick around long term, how hesitant he is to commit long term to the city. And if you're another team that's looking to add a top tier player like Jalen, yeah, you're feeling pretty good about your chances, or at least you're gonna line those chips to make your best offer. So it'll be interesting offseason, because there's gonna be a lot of reports out there, and a lot of speculating, and with the names that will go through, I'm sure we'll go through them all and decide which one is best for the Celtics. But yeah, the Jalen trade talk is gonna happen for sure in this offseason, and he's not making it easier in terms of putting down those rumors or any type of thought that he doesn't want to be here long term. He's sort of got one foot out. That's the way I look at those pauses for sure.
He might as well have put a Craigslist posting out for his services. Like, I mean, that's not a hard question to answer. It's not a question you need to have the reporter repeat 3 times. It's the obvious question. What happens this offseason? You haven't thought about it ever? Like, it's a simple answer.
He just didn't want to say how he felt.
But again, how hard is it to say? I mean, why pause? Just don't answer. Guys, I'm not talking about anything other than tonight. Right. It's disrespectful to my teammates and what we put forward here.
That would have been
It's that easy. If you don't want to talk about it, just say, I do not want to talk about anything beyond tonight and what went into this game. We have tons of time to address the offseason. I like it here. I like, we don't know what's going to happen. Blah, or don't even say that. Just say, I'm not talking about it, and move on. Pausing is talking about it. It's saying things. Okay.
Massive pause. I've never heard a pause like that.
I mean, massive. It's so hard. You have to think so long and hard about how to not answer a question. Tells you how much you want to not answer the question.
Right.
So don't answer it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Don't answer it.
He didn't really.
Not answering it is fine. Doing that is not fine, because it just tells you. And again, don't apply it. Everyone's gonna be like, you don't know what he's thinking. Just apply it to your life. If you asked anybody a basic question and they hemmed and hawed that much, would you be like, They're probably cool.
Come on, John, give a relationship analogy.
I'm not doing the relationship. I've done a lot tonight. I don't want to keep doing it. I'm overusing them. But seriously,
this makes it even more.
Do you love me?
This makes it even more of a reason why.
I don't know how to answer that.
Wait, what was the question?
You got me. You really got me on that one.
Wait, what? Again, what? One more time. I don't even know.
You know what's even more startling about it? He can only get the $300 million here. So why? And this is what I said all year. Why increase the chances that the Celtics are going to trade you if it's going to cost you roughly $70 to $100 million? I think that says a lot. Like, he understands the implications of leaving that uncertainty out there. His agent certainly does. And if they're not having those conversations, or he has to know, right? He has to know the implications of being traded at this point.
But he could just make the team again.
Like, or you could just address your future in a year. So say, I want to be here. You don't have to say I'm going to sign, but I want to be here. I'm committed. I want to win here.
The reason you don't say want to
Kyrie
be here,
just Kyrie it.
The reason you don't say want to be here is because there's a real definitive way to keep you here, which is here's $300 million. And then if you say no to it, then obviously you don't want to be here. So you'll be proven a liar really quick. When you enter free agency, you could say a lot of things and then just talk about the process and not feeling respected or feeling more respected somewhere else, or why you went somewhere and some bullshit that people do, which is fine. But here, it's very cut and dried. The Celtics, if the Celtics offer him $300 million and he says no, the answer to do you want to be here long term is no. It's that simple.
And that's where you have to start if you're the Celtics, right?
It's like, if I offer this, are you taking it? And if he says no,
what's the point of nickel and diming him? There's no point. Either you want to keep him here, and that's going to be the price, or you look to move on.
Yeah, you got to make sure he wants to be here. You know, you don't want him to just check out. You know, not to say that I think he would, but 2 years into it, what if he's just not feeling it anymore? You know, or you ask for.
You're right, Josue, especially because it becomes harder to move him at that point.
Right. So then you're stuck in the corner here, and you can't. You know, where you could just you just go your separate ways right now, and find out where his heart is at. You know, do you want to be here? Do you like this? The way things are here, because realistically, it's not going to change a whole lot. Maybe the talent around these guys, but the hierarchy isn't going to change between them.
Yeah, and be careful what you wish. I don't even want to hear the name Towns.
There you go.
Greatest hits.
She's playing them all tonight.
Playing all the hits tonight. I think it's the first time I've seen this name in the chat. So yes, a lot of the greatest.
Oh no, it's our fault. If he leaves, it's our fault. You guys know that, right?
I think she's trolling at this point.
Yeah.
We did it. That. Appreciate
here's another. Yeah, right. Exactly. This is all. You guys are forcing him out with this conversation right here.
Yeah. We're just having the conversation that every other group of fans would be having if they were chatting right now. And if they aren't, then they're not paying attention.
And run through everything else. I don't think there's another player on the roster or move potentially to change the complexion of the roster that makes sense. If that's what you think needs to happen here, if this core is just grown stale, and that's what I sense tonight. No one said it exactly, but just and again, it's a grueling loss, so obviously everyone's going to look upset and kind of shell-shocked, but this isn't the way you expected tonight to go. And how many times have we said that this postseason? If they really went down fighting tonight, you would have said, all right. Like, you had to claw your way back, and you fell short, and it's a failure of a season. But you showed something. You fought for each other. You showed you really want to keep this thing together. You figured things out late in the series, and you just didn't have the energy to make that last one push. This was like game 3. There's something wrong here.
These are some guys I played high school basketball with, so somebody knows something about me here. These are two of my buddies. I'm in a fantasy football league with both.
Oh, I was gonna say these guys are before my time. I don't know. Never heard of them.
No,
Put in Bertman.
Bertman's great. Rich Bertman. I'll tell you this: Rich Bertman, our junior year, was perfect from the field for the season.
Wow.
Granted, he didn't play a lot of minutes, but I think he was 8 of 8 or 11 for 11 for his entire junior year. Didn't miss a shot. Dickie, we call him Dick Buttman. Dickie
was he
B.
just like 8 feet or something and just?
No. He's one of those guys that was like the biggest kid when he was 12 and then stayed that size.
I see. I know what that feels like.
And Gregory was phenomenal. Super athlete. Played. Yeah. Well, I'm talking about my boys here, Jimmy.
Bobby,
give me a minute.
Bobby, we haven't even gotten to Andy Gregory yet, so can you just hold on?
Yeah, let him cook.
I haven't even gotten to Andy Gregory yet.
Come on, John. Right.
Andy's phenomenal.
Phenomenal athlete.
Let John cook.
Shot.
He had 200 yards rushing against Maddington as a football player. Played a little college football at Hobart. Great dude.
Hobart.
Great dude. I would bench me for Andy. I totally would.
That's big of you to say.
Yeah. Anyway.
Can we talk about Joe?
We've talked about Joe.
Yeah, I posted a super chat up. Somebody spent $2 to ask what you do with Joe. So Bobby, I'll let you go first.
Wait. I got one more. I got one for you. Bobby. Bobby, what was Al talking about in your question to him? What is the adversity that they faced all year long that we don't even know about? We know Joe and Ime. That's before the season. Through the course of the year, Al made it sound like
there were tons of ups and downs.
They were dodging landmines all year in his answer to you. So much went on behind the scenes that we don't know about. What is he talking about?
I think trying to figure out these issues and trying to get on the same page and trying to find a collective approach, I think, to move forward. I think a lot of this year, and I've said this. I think a lot of this year, and I've said this, it felt like a lot of individuals trying to save problems or trying to fix problems. That's what tonight looked like. I think that's what they looked like at their worst. I think that's showed in a lot of their comments throughout the year. And I also think, at least publicly, there was just a lot of denial to the issues. And that starts at the top. I never want to call for someone to be fired, but I think there's a strong case to have a new coach next year.
Sherrod, what say you?
Who, though? That's the thing. Who?
Well, see, right. I mean,
no. We did the who thing, Josue, with Brad. The who doesn't matter.
Well,
when you're done, you're done.
Situation, though. 7 years that's no one's gonna listen to this guy anymore. I don't know if Joe's quite there, but
the who doesn't matter.
Here's the thing.
Determine he's no good. If they've determined he's not the guy, you just move on. You don't worry about who's next.
And that's what ultimately this comes back to: is he the guy to get you over the hump?
There are 3 jobs open right now: the Raptors, the Pistons, and the Suns. Monty Williams is not going to the Pistons, and I don't think he's going to the Raptors. He's not going to the Suns. So where's he going?
He could be going nowhere.
To the booth.
All right.
Not the booth. That's Doc's. That's Doc's play.
That's where Doc's going.
Yeah.
Let's break up the questions. Without trying to figure out who takes
the who doesn't
head
matter.
Coaching job. What do you do with the current coach of the Celtics? Are you just keep him because there's nobody better that you can think of, or do you keep him because you think he is the right coach for this team?
That's the question, Jimmy.
Yeah, if you're breaking up the team, if we're talking about trading Jalen, or if we're talking about,
let's say you don't. Say you don't trade him.
You'd have to consider bringing
him
back.
Let's break it down like this. I love Joe Mazzulla. I got to know him a little bit this year.
And he loves you, probably.
I hope so.
And we love you too, Bobby.
He loves everyone.
I think he has enormous potential
just
in this
assume
league.
we all love everybody here, but go on.
So I think he has enormous potential. I think a lot of his philosophies make a lot of sense and helped this team in many ways this year. But he came into this year and said, we're an offensive team. We're going to manage the team with our offense. We're going to focus on offense because our defense will be fine. And all the players, every single player on this team at this point has said, our defense was not fine this year. We need to get back to that. That's who we are. When our offense isn't there, we need to be a defensive team, and we never reached the level we need to get to defensively this year. When you ask Joe, he said we're fine defensively. We're number 2. We're number 1 this week. We're great. That's a disconnect.
Defense, Bobby, to me, is a euphemism for effort. Okay? When they say defense, what they're basically saying is we got a bunch of guys who aren't giving it their all. That's what they're saying. That's what I believe. It's not whether the defense is the most important thing. It's specifically that's where you can tell people are not giving their effort.
So
okay?
how much does that fall on the players versus falling on the coach?
That's why I think it's the players.
This is on the players, John. We all agree on that.
So
what were you going to say, Sherrod? What were you going to say? Finish the thought there.
No, I'm just saying if we're in agreement that it's on the players, then why are we getting rid of the coach? If we agree that they need to look at their players and they need to figure out how can you get better effort out of the core group or the group that you have in general. Because when you go back and look at this Miami Heat series, this series was won on effort. This series was won on multiple effort plays, on just being more locked and engaged to executing what your game plan is. How much of that is a player thing versus a coaching thing? That's what the Celtics have to figure out. That's what's going to determine whether you move Jalen or you bring back a Grant Williams or you do something else to tweak that roster or you fire Joe. Those are the things you got to determine. When I look at this team play, I don't think I'm the only one who feels this way. They don't play with great effort every night. They don't play with consistently elite effort every night. And when you don't do that, you open yourself up to getting your ass whipped. And now, is that something that a coach can fix, or is that something that internally has to happen from within the group of players? And if it has to come from within the group of players, do you need to mix the combination of players that you have? Those are the things that the Celtics have to iron out this offseason.
I think that's the point. I think that's the root of the chemistry issues. That's all I wanted to say is if there are chemistry issues, it's because when one guy's trying and another guy isn't, you're just kind of like, man, like it's a drag to see it. That's that we always joke about the proverbial we, well, we means they. We means those guys didn't give it tonight. Or I know there's people in there that didn't try. Okay? But you're saying we because they're professionals and they're not throwing each other under the bus. But that's what you're saying. When you say we, it's they. And sometimes people say me also, I could have been better. But a lot of times the we means they. It means I'm looking around and I'm not seeing it from us collectively as a team. But what I really mean is a couple of guys over there. And they're not doing it. And it's driving me friggin' nuts. And we failed again as a result of it. And that's the root of chemistry problems when you don't know if everybody's in it or as committed
even the
to
offense
as committed to the process as you are. Then it gets frustrating because if even one guy's doing his own thing or not locked in or not focused, it screws up the whole thing.
Everything.
And they see it happen time and again. And that's where the issues are. It's not like they don't like each other. It's that they're consistently seeing each other fail one another. And not consistently too often. And after a while, it's like, oh, man, like it just gets it's just a drag.
Particularly the repeated mistakes. We talked about that a lot through this year. Why aren't they learning from the continuous mistakes? Is there not a level of communication? Is there not a level of accountability? Is there just an apathy to it happening over and over again?
Josue, sorry, I jumped in on you.
Well, no, I was going to say. Yeah, I'm going to respond to Bob right now. Look at the way they won game 6. I mean, you think they look at that as like luck? I mean, there's a lot of luck in that. Like there's been so many games like that where the last 5 minutes or so could have been anyone's game, or they came up short and trying to stop a team, and all of a sudden they had a 7-point lead that disappeared. Like I just feel like that cushion of we're gonna bounce back because we just did it. We just did it for three games in a row. So we're gonna come in and do the same thing. I mean, that's just the kind of mentality that I feel like it's a false sense of like we're always gonna solve issues like that. You know what I mean? Like there's no steady. It's like what Brogdon was saying. Like
I totally agree with that, Josue.
Like a team that can rely on steady defense is always going to win over a team that relies on high power offense. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, but pretty much what Brogdon was saying. Like that's a championship team, and he's talking about a team that he wasn't even on last year, but that's how much he admired these guys and said that look, that team played defense. These guys this is a completely different team compared to what they were last year, and it's just interesting for hear Brogdon say that as someone who wasn't a part of that team last season.
Bobby, did you take that as a dig at Joe when Brogdon said?
I didn't hear Brogdon's
offense?
comments. I wasn't in there for them.
Yeah, well, some people here did, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much just talked about last year's, being how great they were defensively and how they were never that this year. And he believed that to be a champion in this league, you have to be that team on the defensive end of the floor. You have to be top notch, and that your defense has to be better than your offense. And pretty much he's saying that wasn't the case for the Celtics.
Absolutely, and I feel the exact same way. If they can find someone who returns this team to that defensive identity, John, and yes, they've learned a lot, I think, on the offensive end from Joe. I think that's where, if you're going to overlook this team's flaws, and I do think there's a case, Game 6 showed as much as anything, and I wrote after that game, this core is so good, there's so much talent here, that you're at least in the mix year in and year out with this group. And if you tinker with it too much and you disrupt it even making moves for the sake of making moves, you're even further away at that point. And you only have a couple shots at personnel moves, really only one at this point if you're going the Brown route. So can you just find a coach who can really scheme up defense, who emphasizes that side of the ball, who keeps them consistent and aggressive and like the team we saw last year, game in and game out, because that team looked way better than anyone else in the league this year. And this team did for 26 games to start the year, but you wondered what was going to happen when the shooting comes down to earth. And this was, John, it's so, John.
Yeah. What?
We said it multiple times this year. Is this team just going to go out missing a million threes? Game 6, you shoot 20% from 3. Tonight, you shoot 21% from 3. And Joe only said it briefly at one point. He didn't make it the excuse. He didn't make it the headline, but he did say it at one point. We missed threes. And Gary asked him, were you too reliant on threes this year? And he said no.
Because it was Gary. He's not giving Gary a win.
Right?
Let's be real.
So this is the
last day of school. He's not giving him that.
He's not giving Gary a win here.
This is
Gary, you got me. We showed everything about my coaching philosophy was wrong. Yeah. You got me.
You know what's worse? He has to read about it the next day. So he's not going to give him that satisfaction.
Just wait, back it up.
He's got to read the article in
back
like
up
12
off
hours.
the mic a little. Yeah.
This is the question.
Sorry.
This is the question. I'm willing to take either answer. Do you believe in the process? Do you believe in the philosophy?
Oh God, process! Damn it! I thought we buried that with Embiid in the second round.
Do you believe in the philosophy,
Bobby?
Do you believe in the philosophy?
Thank you.
Joe brought to the table this year.
Look,
if you do, you see it out. If you think it's the wrong philosophy for this team,
there's a difference between rules and guidelines, right? Like it does. Like you're not going out there with this edict of like shoot this many. You gotta have some feel for what's going on in the game and recognize. And you have to build a team that can win more than one way. In theory, everything Joe says makes sense. But it doesn't work that way all the time. It's not simply just shoot a bunch of threes, and if you make them, like it's not all about the math. He's right. The numbers favor that approach, but you can't just do it at the expense of everything else, and you can't just lose. You can't just be only able to do that one thing, and if you don't do it, everything else goes to hell. It can't be the way. Everything makes sense. Shoot more threes, make more threes. The numbers prove it. That's fine. Give away these shots, but don't give away these. All of that makes sense. It's sound philosophy. But if you can't win more than one way, you're going to this is what's going to happen. The nights you go cold, you lose. You were cold 4 nights in this series, you lost all 4. You were cold 5 times, really, and you snuck one out. You just can't be dependent on it. But again, philosophy or not philosophy, just play ball, man. I'm confused. What? Who told them not to pass? Who told them to stand there?
You're right.
Who told them to do that? That's not. Yeah, I want threes, but I want you to get into some stuff. Move, run. Move without the ball. Do something. Move the ball faster. Who told them to walk it up? Everybody stand there. Pass to one guy. Everybody stand there. I don't understand that. That can't be. It can't be how it's been drawn up.
But John, Joe got asked about it pregame, the slow pace and crunch time, and he said, "Yeah, there's a case to slowing it down and getting the shot you want."
Then honestly, you gotta just put him out to pasture. If there's not going to be any
the quick shots that frustrate at times. Why aren't you kind of probing the defense and having those layers of ball movement we really love to see when this team's at its best? They were just hunting quick shots.
Guys, I'll ask you this question. Brad hired him. If Brad goes out and fires him, it looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. And Brad has some faith in him because I think he trusts in his basketball acumen. I think we all agree, right? If this comes down, it comes down from Wick, and I don't think there's much conversation. I mean, there'll be some conversations, but I think if he's gone, minds have been made up, and they're going to need convincing in the other direction. That's going to be hard to do. So I don't know. I don't know what they saw up top in the ownership. I don't know what they think there, but I
have a feeling he's back.
Call it. Sherrod, back or not?
Back.
Really, Jimmy?
I think that he's going to be back too, although I don't agree.
Wick doesn't do that, John.
I don't know if I agree with it, but I think he might be back.
Right, and Jimmy, and let's be clear on the question. The question isn't whether we what we think they should do, it's what do we think they will do. I think they will bring him back.
No, I'm just saying will.
Right. I think they will bring him back.
I would agree. Again, I go back to what I originally said. I don't think they should have ever lifted the interim tag off. And then if they didn't, everyone's probably changing their opinion, saying that he won't be back. So
I don't think he's back. I don't. I actually, it's not what I would. I actually don't think he's back.
You don't think he's back? Okay, we'll see. There are better coaches out there right now that you could put on this Celtics team right now. You already named a few of them. Sherrod named. What's his name? Used to coach Vogel.
Frank Vogel.
We named
Celtics background from back in the day.
Monty Williams was another name that was out there.
Yep.
Nick Nurse is off the map now.
There are probably some really, really good qualified assistant coaches that
I like Monty.
Similar to Ime's situation that could be extremely qualified to coach this team. I'm going back to what Al Horford just said on how there was a lot of ups and downs. I don't know exactly what word he used.
Can we play that sound again? Do we have that, John?
Which one?
The Horford clip.
The Horford sound?
Him and Bobby went blow for blow.
Yeah, I can do that.
Because I feel like
hear the full
I point to the coach. There's got to be something between players and coaches because I feel like it was players versus players.
Let's hear it.
What I heard about it.
Here we go.
It seemed like a lot of players didn't think you guys found the consistency you needed to this year. How do you evaluate the consistency the team played with this year, and why do you think you might not have been as consistent as?
What the hell was that?
No, I'm not going to get caught up in consistency questions and things like that. We have a good group. We had a lot going on this year, and our guys should hold their heads high because we had a lot of adversity, and in that locker room we dealt with a lot of things. And our group was very professional all year, worked really hard, and it's disappointing that we didn't get our results. We failed. We failed because we wanted to win a championship. That was our goal. But despite that, I'm very proud of that group because there was never any excuse. We went through ups and downs, but we stuck with it. So right now, I feel like we want solutions, and sometimes you kind of have to step back and look at the work, and that's just not going to happen right now in the heat of the moment.
So he didn't say all season, as we kind of talked about the first time. He might just be talking about having to deal with losing your coach and how difficult that was.
Maybe.
But I don't know.
That was the theme across the board for everybody.
Which was what?
It was tough to lose your coach the day before training camp, and that's set the tone for the season. It was difficult to bounce back from that. And I don't know. You didn't hear a lot about that throughout.
You finished with the second best record in the East.
In basketball.
Yeah.
Just a I think it's a completely fair answer, but
I don't
know, like you didn't hear.
I don't think it's for the very point you just brought up, Bobby. I don't think it was a fair answer because it hasn't been an issue for most of the season. If they would have came into the playoffs with like the 7th best record, and had then it's like, okay, I get it. You know what? You got a legitimate point there. You had the 2nd best record.
You overcame it.
Yes, you literally.
And who reported?
They came out firing to start the year.
You proved it. What if the problems were the thing that started the year? You came out freaking gangbusters, so that couldn't have been an issue. So something happened after that, or not? If we're just talking about the coach thing, I'm sorry, that's not valid. You came out hot, and as you guys said, finished with the 2nd best record and made the conference finals. It couldn't have been that bad.
I agree.
You didn't hear it. And again, Woj report after game 3, something to the effect of they never recovered from it or something, and then they win the 3 straight, and it's like, what? I don't know.
And even Kevin O'Connor tweeted that none of them like each other.
I wasn't a huge fan of that, to be honest.
Remember?
It's like vague. It's very. What was it? They pretend to like each other. It was weird. But go ahead.
That was a vague one, yeah. Even though it was spot on from what we think we see, but yeah, go ahead.
Source.
And
my
remember,
eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Right? It's like, oh, that's your opinion. Sorry, Bobby. Go ahead.
And remember when he got hired by Houston, obviously it became a story again. Everyone just kind of shrugged it off in the Celtics locker room. Like, yeah, it stunk to see him go. We're happy for him. It's old news.
And it's old news. It's old news because they found a way to not let it completely dominate and downgrade their season. And so that's why the fact that, they dealt with stuff, and that's not an easy thing to deal with. But guess what? You sort of kind of found the cheat code to get past it and finish with the second.
And I talked to Grant after one of the games recently, and he said, I think it was game 5, you always know how to tap into what you know. Like, they have the Udoka. Like, Joe was here for the Udoka years. Like, there's some carryover here. You could tap right back into those things as players, and they did. They played double big at times this year, and it really struggled. Played a similar defensive scheme for a lot of the players. Ime enacted, particularly in this series. A lot of the cheating and roaming and hedging to clog the lane, but they did it so poorly. Like, they failed to execute for a lot of the years players, and as John said earlier, you do have to put that front and center. But you're balancing 2 things, right? You have a very talented roster. There's no doubt that this is one of, if not the most talented rosters in the NBA. And you're seeing a group that struggled to play at that level, game in and game out. So yes, like you're letting the players off the hook, John. I
know, but someone put this in the chat after one of the game, maybe the game 3 loss. I can't remember. About, and this was really, really good comment about, smarts is a talent, mental toughness is a talent, being able to maintain consistency is a talent, like playing under all of these things, those are talents. It's again, you're not, this isn't like a workout tape, where you're making moves on a chair.
It's not the combine.
Yeah, it's not the combine. Like, ooh, look at Yee. Jean Lin, friggin' juking that chair. Like, he looks awesome.
Yeah, so what gets that? We obviously saw elimination games get them to that level. They played,
all of those things are talents.
They played
look, better. Yeah, but it's a choice. Choosing to play hard is a talent. Like, being able to bring it every night is a talent. Choosing to play hard, being mentally tough is a talent. I'm sorry, if you're a flip the switch team, then you got to flip it every friggin' time. If you don't flip it every time, then you're just frauds.
Isn't that part of coaching too? Is getting your guys in that state of mind consistently. It's not just X's and O's. It's having your guys prepared, and that's where you can have an edge as a coach. You can't go out there and shoot the ball for them, but I think you can get them in the right mindset so that they can come out prepared and they don't have to question their effort, their intensity on the defensive end or on whatever.
But if
I feel like Joe didn't. I don't feel like Joe did that. I mean, we already talked about how he didn't know when and where to call timeouts. So I feel like he didn't. I feel like he wasn't great communicating with these guys.
But didn't we say that last year, Jimmy? Didn't we say it last year? Didn't we say it the year before?
Well, I was going to say, would you all agree that there's a strong chance?
Yeah, we did.
Say what you just said about
no,
not
because
being
I thought
he would have come back.
Ime got them. I think Ime got through to them.
But they had how many games in the playoffs where we were scratching our head like, wait, how did this happen again? True. What was the effort? Like, well, how did they cave down this? I mean, caving down the street, not being the worst team that's ever been assembled with a 10-point lead in 5 minutes to play in a game is a mind-blowing thing. That's coach after coach after coach. I mean, that's an insane. That's a non-talent when you can't figure out what you're supposed to do late in games when you're ahead. That's that's on the players. That's on the players.
So then keep Joe.
Huh?
So then just keep Joe.
No,
guys,
because you're right in the sense that like they might need a babysitter. The reason,
guys, did any of us enjoy this year? Like, it's as simple as that.
Why? I think we all know that we didn't.
And doesn't that say a lot? I mean, all of us looked at it at a certain point and we're just like, this just isn't right. Something's wrong here. We don't know what it is, but something is. I think we can all agree with that, right?
Yeah, something's wrong. And you're right. We are going in circles a little bit. Like,
you wonder how close they are to being that team, though, a championship team. It's hard to gauge, right?
They took a step back this year.
You think they're closer to it or further from it, Josue?
Oh, further for sure.
Their roster's closer, but
especially compared to last year. But I mean, look at the path that they had to get back to the finals. And you're like, man, how did this team not figure it out? But the one thing about Joe Mazzulla is, if I had to guess, he's going to be better next year because of the lessons he's learned. But will he be able to grab these guys and have them all focused again? If it's the same.
I don't think it's about better or worse. He's himself. Like, Joe was who Joe was this year.
Yeah.
And so, do you want to have Joe? That's what it's not about better or worse. It's Joe's Joe. You're going to shoot 1 million threes.
Yep.
You're going to take quick shots. You're going to try to play with a ton of pace and interchange. Again, there's a lot of good to this. There's a lot of positives that came out of that. But it's everything that drove us crazy about it too. You're gonna deal with too. It's his philosophy.
Yeah. A couple quick things. We're going to wrap it here. Just give you guys another heads up. Our sponsor, FanDuel, exclusive wagering partner, CLNS Media Network. Visit FanDuel.com/Boston. Take advantage of this special offer, $1,000 in no sweat first bet, which means you can lose and you get it back. Pretty cool. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's still tons of Celtics content you're going to be getting later tonight into the morning, and then obviously throughout the entire offseason. We're far, 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 far from done. Check out the audio version of the podcast here if you want to listen to any of it, portions of it, just the Rich Bertman, Andy Gregory portion of it. That was at around the 150 mark. You want to talk about Newton South High School basketball. Totally fine and totally fair.
None of us even responded to this one.
If you want to get in on that stuff. And then, guys, I'll give you a chance to say bye to our terrific viewers, 2,500 of which are still here hanging out with us 2 hours and 20 minutes into the show.
Thank you,
Love
guys.
it. Yeah, I mean, I think it goes to show that
that's awesome. That's awesome.
This is a good place to vent, to lay out on the couch and just sort of spew out what's going through your mind. And tell you what, there's a lot, I think, going through a lot of Celtics fans' minds right now. Some probably disturbing thoughts, but
you think, Jimmy? You think?
Disturbing, violent thoughts.
Yeah, very disturbing thoughts that are going to prevent people from sleeping as soundly as they'd like to tonight. But this isn't the end of the Garden Report, guys. We'll be going strong in the offseason here. Unfortunately, no more games to talk about, but there's certainly a lot to discuss involving this team, and it'll be interesting. It's definitely a huge offseason. I don't know which direction they're going to go in. They have some pretty major decisions to make. So it'll be interesting to say the least.
Yeah.
But it's disappointing. I mean, we're all disappointed tonight. I'm not really looking at the offseason right now. I'm just pissed off, like I think everybody else is. But this is also like weirdly closure. I think we were all like, part of us was waiting for this to happen at some point, and now it has, and we can kind of just close the book on this weird ass season and frustrating year. And
I think we all looked ahead to the finals, Jimmy.
And let's roll it back.
Pretty much feels like that's going to happen. We were looking towards the finals, I think, Bobby, but I'll be honest.
No. I'm saying you were looking toward the finals and going.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was gonna straight up. I was picking Denver in that series. If the Celtics won tonight and we made predictions, it was going to be like, for me, it was going to be like Denver in 6.
I was going to go Denver in 5.
Yeah, maybe 5. Fuck. Shoot.
I think Denver's going to roll to the.
Now I'm thinking Denver in 4.
Yeah,
oh,
Denver.
Man, Denver's
going to roll. I think.
Well, don't do a Bobby Manning. What?
No, don't have another.
I'm gonna say, really,
and then tomorrow I'll say no. Actually, Miami's going to win it in 5.
Miami in 5, Denver in 6, or Miami in 7.
Oh no! So I dropped the.
Who would do that?
Yeah, John.
Don't have another finals sweep, another uncompetitive finals. We've seen too many of those, and that was my worry about Nuggets Heat. But respect to the Heat, that they shocked me
Now
again.
you're going to respect it. Now you're going to
Apology, Cam.
Because you were so disrespectful of them, man.
Bobby didn't think the Heat were going to make the playoffs.
You were so disrespectful of them.
Yeah, I said it like twice too. I was like, you disrespect the hell out of him.
I was in Miami in October and was like, what is going on with this team?
It's October. What the hell you? Go ahead, Bobby.
Something just seemed off, and it carried throughout the year, and they went into the fourth quarter of the second play-in game and came back. And then they went on one of the most unbelievable runs ever. They're only the second 8 seed to make the finals, right?
This is the host of the next podcast, the late night podcast, trying to bribe me with three Aussie dollars to get off the air. We will. Late night show coming.
That is Jake. Yeah, that is Jake.
John, you need to negotiate a little bit higher, John.
He's like, let me
get off. At least 5.
Are they still going? Like, what the hell?
Let me get off my Heat mini apology, Cam.
Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, it's. I want to go down the.
John.
I want to go down the road you took down there. I mean, anytime we'd hit the live button this year, this place just filled up, and like extended just to like kind of supporting the work on the ground we did. I always say, like, coming out of school, like no one kind of accept me for internships. Like I didn't think I was gonna have a job. The pandemic hit. Like this was always kind of my dream, and it just didn't seem like I had any prospects to follow it coming out of school. And like obviously for John to kind of give me this chance, and you guys being here night in and night out, and just having like this rock of the show, and kind of giving me the chance to do what I want to do and grow, and like to have the audience here to support it. Like it just meant a lot throughout this year, and then for it to just become something where like we'd walk through the stands and stuff, and Boston or different cities, and like have fans of the show just keep coming up to us. Like it's inexplicable. It's so great. So,
are you retiring?
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, he's done.
Are we going to hang the Bobby Horford jersey up?
You know our CLNS.
You're welcome, Bobby. You're welcome. You earned it, Bobby.
You know our CLNS motto: give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, and we will give you a job here.
Right.
So
Bobby, you still gotta represent.
Always. I'm really proud of what we've built here. It's really cool.
We're a family.
We love you too, Bobby. We love you too, Bobby. You know we do.
Are you going to be back?
I don't even know how to answer that question.
I don't know how to answer that question.
Wait, repeat that?
One more time.
Can you repeat that?
What do you mean by that? Remember you used to drop that line? What do you mean by that?
I don't know how to answer that question.
Oh, could you rephrase that? It's like what?
No, I do appreciate
Tell
the
you
effort.
what, I love the Garden reports, but I always, someday maybe we'll be ending the season on a positive note. I guess that's the chase, right? That's what makes the ending so sweet. I guess if it goes your way.
I mean, last year we said it at the time. You never promised the chance to go back. That's the story of this season.
You're welcome, Walker.
You did. You needed to get back. Like it wasn't going to be given to you, and they didn't take it.
They did not take it. We did the best with our opportunity. I will say that. I'm thankful for everybody here on the show who shows up every night. I mean, a lot of these guys, you know, they got stuff to do. You know, it's a school night. I mean, Jimmy, you know, he's hanging in there. But
by a thread.
Every single night, 82, all the playoffs, preview shows, trade shows, breaking news shows, draft shows. I don't think the Celtics draft anymore, but we used to do draft shows.
Yeah.
Stuff in the offseason. We're not going anywhere, as Jimmy said. We'll be doing Garden reports at least once or twice a week through the offseason. And then anytime there is any sort of breaking news, situation going on. Off season's always a fun time, and obviously there's a lot going on. There could be nothing going on, but nothing is something when it comes to the Celtics, because if they kind of roll it back, that's going to be something that we want to talk about. So, there'll be some important dates coming up and some times and things where
we're on
stuff
Wick Watch.
Is going to happen. We're on Wick Watch right now, and honestly, we could be back in about 12 hours if something happens that I think might happen.
Yeah, they used to do that quickly, right?
Those things happen fast.
Yeah.
I believe.
That's Doc Rivers.
I believe we'll hear from Brad shortly. Yeah.
Tonight?
No, in the near future.
I don't have. I don't have that in me.
In the near future.
So letting you guys know once again, this is coming up, the late night show, Celtics late show, with the guys from the First to the Floor podcast. They are going to do it right after the Garden Report here. So if you guys are still going, and there are plenty of you still here in the room who seem to have an appetite for this,
whatever you do,
head up. Yeah.
Please bring back Luke next year.
Yeah.
Oh God.
There it is. There it is.
On that note, John, let's just go.
The campaign begins.
Thank you to the Garden Report
Bring
family.
Back the lemon squares for everyone.
Garden Report family, everybody here and everybody out there, I really do mean it. It's fun chatting with you guys. It's fun seeing the commentary. Even those of you who crap on us, that's also fun. And we do enjoy it, and we thrive off it, and we really do like it. So we do appreciate it. I am bummed because the finals, more content, the audience grows. It's a ton of fun. We had a good ride here again, getting into the conference finals and a good season. So thank you guys for being with us all year long. Look forward to the off season, another good season next year. Hopefully less this, whatever this is.
This is so us. Us.
God. Anyway, good
Order
night,
your
all.
AG1 too. Don't forget your AG1.
Don't forget to stack that.
Take it on vacation. Take it to Cancun.
That's right, guys. On 3, Cancun. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, Cancun.
We'll see you guys later. Check out the Celtics.